everybody. Welcome to a beautiful Wednesday afternoon here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're happy to have you as digital visitors to our physical space where we spend so much of our lives working with indie publishers who make some of the greatest games on this here planet, and an audience that is some of the best people that I could ever imagine over the past 19 years of beautiful, beautiful times together.
I honestly, I didn't know where we were going, how long the train ride was going to be.
I didn't either.
But that was nice.
I didn't either. A little.
You sound like you're feeling a little.
The countryside.
I don't know, almost grateful.
Oh, almost grateful is the story of my life. I am feeling a little bit better. I was down with the flu last week, and so I'm still kind of coughing and hacking a little bit. So if you get some of that in the mic, I'm sorry for that, and I'm sorry to myself for that as well, because I would rather not be doing these things. We're talking today, the coughing. Yes. I love doing this. This is the highlight of my day. Otherwise, it's miserable to work here.
On that note, we are hiring for a few positions, and if you would like to join. Anyway, so go ahead.
Too many people going in.
Yeah.
So here's what we're doing today. Strap in is going to be a fun one. We had a number of conversations in the industry discussion channel of our Discord focused around LCGs. Comes around about once every couple of weeks. Conclusions are usually about the same, but I think we're ready to just to really have this conversation in a big, bold, and holistic way. So we're going to be talking about LCGs today, what an LCG means to us, and I think that's an important distinction to make. How they might be different from board games or not, if there is a potential future for the model that would, by my thesis, be very different from the model that we have seen in the past. And how some of our partners are exploring some of those avenues even today as we speak. So it'll be hot and heavy and exciting and offensive and everything that gets you to click on a video. It'll be all of those things. So if you're hearing this, keep watching, because like the drama's coming. And in the meantime, we got some news to get into. We're kicking everything off in this experimental new format, which looks a lot like old formats that we've done in the past. Kicking off with news about our local, I guess, our indie publishing partners, so the games that we sell on our website. Anything kicking around out there in the news related to the things that we care about and follow. And then what's going on here at Covenant. And then we shall dive into the hottest of takes, where everybody will be sharing the video and cutting it and shorting it and all of that. I'm sure in a mood today.
You are, yeah.
Did you feel it?
I feel like you kind of you were sick and you were gone, and now the energy wells are like back.
Yeah, it's just you put me on air and it's just spun up like a top. I just have no idea what I'm saying.
Well, here's a question I want to ask to the people in the room and everyone out there actively watching live. And if you're listening to this back, also happy to hear from you later in a comment or in the Discord channel. But
still.
Do you think it's more relevant to live people because it might change what's about to happen? You think it makes more sense to start with Covenant related news or to end the news section with the Covenant related news?
I think would end with Covenant because humility is the greatest value.
Baseball rules.
Don't know what that means. Only one batter at a time.
He who was last shall be first, Zach.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start from the bottom of my list. It's all random. Arkham Horror. Speaking of LCGs,
there it is.
This game is coming up on 10 years.
I guess it does have a model.
Later this year.
10 years of Arkham.
I think August, September. Technically, I think it previewed at Gen Con and then came out in October.
Yeah.
2016.
We got the best demo of our life at Gen Con.
That's on YouTube.
It was so good. In fact, I'll bet she was singularly responsible for the next 10 years of our Arkham support and journey. That demo was that important.
Like sold
it was so good that it was like, okay, well, we got to get into this.
I do remember when it was first announced. That's not a theme I was particularly excited about.
Yeah, no.
As a person.
Me neither.
And then you guys did the demo. I wasn't even there. But then you're talking about it incessantly after the demo. And how good the demo was specifically.
Yes.
It's like you were almost talking more about the quality of the demo.
Quality of the demo was incredible.
Yeah, wild. It's wild how important that actually is.
Yeah.
Anywho, coming up on 10 years, that's really not even the news. The news is that next week is the release of the Investigator decks. So
the core set has happened.
They've done the 2.0 core set, and now it's a set of 5 decks that are pre-built. You can play right out of the box. Great way to get into the game. Those are still available for pre-order on the website. We are expecting shipping to happen next week.
Mm-hmm. We also think
Like
I think we is the cat out of the bag on how tight the supply seems to be for these, or is it now?
Well, now it's the news. It is now. So we definitely it's been a minute since I've had to say the word allocation in terms of it happening to us. But there was.
But you're not saying that, to be clear.
I'm not
now.
No.
But
there was a moment where I thought I was going to have to.
yes.
And I was. The fires were starting to build. You know what I mean? I think I've said this before on a previous podcast, but if there's one thing I can achieve in this life, it is destroying that word from tabletop games.
Okay.
I hate
good.
allocation.
That's a fine goal.
Yeah, I don't actually know if it's like the top. It's not the top goal, but allocation drives me crazy. I can't believe in 2026 is the thing that's even possible.
The idea of ordering something and not getting it.
Being allowed to order something and then not get it because you're just sort of your system is just letting people order however much they want indefinitely with nothing.
And you might not even know the numbers you're getting from a publisher. Like everything about it is just everyone being not great at it. Like it's just bad. It's just bad process across the board. That's the only way this happens.
Simply put, I don't know anything about the print numbers of Arkham, but let's hypothetically say it's got to get printed at a factory. I'm presuming it's coming from China, which means they hit print on this thing that's releasing now 5 months ago, roughly.
They probably know the number of units you're going to be making.
So 5 months ago, you know how many you've got.
Mm-hmm.
And so your system, generically speaking right now, is not accounting for that at all. Why is it even possible to order to the point where allocation can happen?
I'll tell you why. It's because the number that somebody puts in is maybe a number they'll cut down later. So like you can't only sell to the numbers that you get, because what if half of those people cancel 2 weeks before release, which they're allowed to do for whatever reason?
Yeah. Well, it's why. In most cases with most products, especially a game like Arkham that has had lots of releases over time, it's easier to get that to print enough to not have that even be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And most products don't have the problem of having that problem. But just the idea that you essentially have multiple distributors and hundreds or thousands of retailers inputting orders with no context. Like, we don't launch something and start selling on our website or pre-selling on our website unless we have an idea of how much we're going to have to sell.
Sure.
Which you could still do.
Yeah.
And if you, anyways,
it's the gym problem. It's the gym problem. This is the whole allocation thing. I've solved it for you. Gyms don't sell memberships up to how many people could be in the gym at any given time.
Yeah.
And it's similarly, they're selling for like 1,000% more people or more units than they might have, because they assume that most people are not actually going to come to the gym.
Yeah.
But then when everyone actually does come to the gym, it doesn't work anymore and you get kicked out. And that's allocation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't want to get kicked out of the gym. And it looks like we're not going to, and I think it's good, and we're going to count everything up this week and make sure. But then also what that signals to me is that there's probably a lot more interest in this second chapter, a lot of stores and people getting in for the first time.
Yeah.
And so it's an unpredictable amount of demand for these products. And B, they probably printed the investigator decks a lot less than the core set and probably had more demand for those products than they expected. So I think it's the kind of product we should all be aware of. That might not just be, I can go get it next week or week after or whatever. And I don't even know, are we pre-selling things? Why are we doing that?
Well,
who's in charge of that decision?
That would be Ian.
We don't even know how much we've got.
Hold on, let me find it. Let's just see. I'm pretty sure you can order it from us.
Well, we shouldn't tell anybody to do that now.
It is orderable, but I think it's orderable based on what we actually know we're getting.
Okay, based on the numbers.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the other thing
not,
too.
Ian is in there listening, and then we should not be capable of overselling this. Because if we allocate players because we got to allocate is one thing. If we allocate players because we weren't paying attention.
Yeah, no, it's not possible. I haven't done it in 1,000 years. But I will say this: you have the number that you're told that is on the ship and the truck, the land ship, the truck to get to you, but you don't actually know the number until you count it.
Yeah. Because
sometimes warehouses make mistakes, or you get sent less than you think.
Yeah. And if supply is tight and someone made a mistake or a pallet went to the wrong place or whatever, sometimes you can't recover.
Yeah.
It's like these are missing. And there's no replacements. You just get a refund.
Yeah.
And then you get to write a very sad email to anyone that was a subscriber.
But check this out. This is why, in many ways, it's one of the advantages of the subscription changes that we went through last year, which is that we have not charged Arkham yet.
And we won't until we
So
know.
if you have a reserved order for these Arkham Investigator decks, we've not collected any money, but that order is in your account. It was likely created from your subscription if you have one, or if you came in and pre-ordered on the site and chose to pay later. Those orders are all sitting there, and we can now opt to not charge until we are absolutely certain that we have the products that we can send along, which makes it a lot easier, so that if by some strange curse there is an allocation moment for anything, we can just, those orders can be canceled and nobody has lost money in the exchange, which is a big benefit of that system.
Ideal. All right, next up, we have the Alpha Clash TCG. They announced their second PvE expansion, which is the
Vault
Trials raid deck. So they, Indie Comic Book TCG, they just released their 4th issue of the comic book. Main character dives into a vault trying to find a mystical weapon and or earn one, and that's what that story is about. And so Vault Trials is a PvE experience, and they've essentially done. They did their first PvE last year.
I've got some hot news on this, by the way.
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot.
Do you want to hear it?
Well, okay. Let me finish my sentence, and then yes. So this is their second PvE, and this one is different in a lot of key respects. And it reminds me a lot of the Ashes Ascendancy core set that came out, which is, this is a single item that allows you, comes with 2 decks that you like full player decks that you can play with, and the PvE scenario, and so you can play solo.
So you can just buy this one box and no other cards, and you can play through with the 2 decks included. 2 players can play the PvE scenario, or 1 player can play it with 2 different decks going.
You have 2 different decks to play solo. You can play together cooperatively against the scenario, or you can play head to head with the 2 decks. So in a single box, you get solo, co-op, and PvE.
Beautiful.
PvP.
Boom.
All in one, and it looks great.
Which is effectively an LCG release.
Yeah, kinda.
Because it's fixed contents.
It is fixed, but contents. I think there are booster packs in it.
Oh, good. Yeah, there are. There are 4 of them.
Yeah, so they did this last year where they had the PvE box and also a booster box. It was like a mini booster box. But the idea being that you could build a deck, play a scenario, and if you win, you get booster packs.
Yeah.
That you can then modify your deck with, and then the set itself, all the cards are legal to play in the head-to-head version of the game. But
constructed.
A lot of the cards in there inherently are also useful in the scenario itself.
The scenario.
Yeah.
So here's from our friend Ryan Roper.
Okay.
Who has been working with the Alpha Clash team now for a little while on rules, and
he's given the Angels their wings and stuff.
He said, "It's my first Alpha Clash product where I have a design credit, and I put a lot into the raid as well as a supplemental set."
I love that. Ryan's a good dude.
He says it's fashioned after a roguelike dungeon crawler. It didn't get to be as deep as I wanted necessarily, but I'm hoping maybe there can be add-ons in the future. But ultimately, you get a party together and progress through rooms, beat a mini boss, and then you have to attack the raid boss and see if you've built yourself up enough to get it done. He said also the 2 decks included with the raid are specifically designed with the raid in mind, so people can actually beat it with the bundled decks, and the cards are cool for PvP as well.
Yeah, I think that last time the decks were separate, / there weren't specific decks, and so our recommendation was they have Clash kits for the kind of starter decks. Some of those are better or worse into the first scenario than others, so mileage may vary. They're also the champion decks, which is they'll pick top decks from tournaments and print basically just like, this is, you can buy just the deck. And it's got the champion signature on it and that whole thing, which is fine. But I think it being packaged in and being built around leaning into the theme and the story and the mechanics of what's going on is just a way better product.
Yeah, it's nice.
In that way.
Better product. Really cool. Always innovating.
So we also have a bundle on the website on the Alpha Clash section related to this, because the whole PvE scenario comes from this issue 4 of the comics, and it includes issues 1 through 4 of the comic book. So that's something you've been considering. It's the first time those have been available not through the pre-order subscription process with the promos. So there's no promos. If you buy the comics through the subscription and or separately, there's a playset of promos that happens.
If you pre-order the comics, basically.
Yeah. Whereas this is just a way to catch up on the story, which is really, it is really cool to have a comic book story that is happening alongside your TCG on top of, now you have a PvE scenario to pull one of those particular moments out.
And that's what one of their big competitive differentiators for the game is that it is tied directly to the narrative ongoing in the comic book series. So you get the 4 comic books, the only 4 that are out so far, the first 4 comic books and the raid deck for a really good price. I think it's like an extra $10-15 for all the comics. So that's nice. So check that out. That's on our website. Good design work by Jonathan on the logo there.
Yeah, it does
look nice.
And then the last non-Covenant related piece of news, Sorcery continues their organized play updates. So
yeah,
they started with like local Cornerstone Championship, and then now...
Well, they started with Kitchen Table, Figure It Out.
Well, yeah. I'm talking about this string of announcements.
And then Jesse got involved.
Jonathan
old LCG loving Jesse got involved and imported the old FFG philosophy there.
Keep talking because my mic's sinking.
Store championships, regional championships, world championships,
So this is the grand contest.
People want to get together and play this stuff. I don't understand it.
Which is I'm just going to keep going. Which is essentially the replacement of the Crossroads from last year, seemingly.
Yeah.
So these are intended to happen at like SCG Con, which is someone they started partnering with last year. These kind of regional, almost like regional style events. So they showed the Silver Bullet alt art foil for the winner, the Silver Bullet alt art for the runner.
I think Jesse is trolling me
with the Silver Bullet.
I think this entire system is built just to get a reaction out of me.
Tell me more.
I hate the card.
But not the
broadly.
Mechanically,
yes, hate it. Can't stand it. Can't stand it at all.
Tell me more.
Hey, Kyle. Thanks for buying Sorcery from us. I'm going to tell you why you should hate this card. It's boring. It's the most boring card on earth. And also, whenever I think of Sorcery, Zach, and I think of hand-painted, beautiful, classic fantasy art, do I think of a silver bullet flying over the globe? No, I don't think that, Zach. I don't think that. What I think about is dragons and griffins and warriors and wizards and these kinds of things. So you've not only taken away my like classic Jeff Easley, Tony DiDerlizzi fantasy loving self. It's beautiful art. The art's incredible. I mean, it's beautiful. It looks like it belongs in Alpha Clash. It looks like a ballistic missile flying over the earth. It's beautiful art. It's not what I'm looking for with Sorcery. I'm looking for I'm looking for that deep fantasy. And you know what else I'm not looking for is a card that just says go find a card and play it. I can't stand it, Jonathan. It drives me and all of it. The common sense, the toolbox, the Silver Bullet. You know what Silver Bullet should do? Kill a lycanthrope. That's Sorcery, baby. That's Sorcery. And if you want to run a deck that is really good into the top werewolf deck 5 years from now, you take the risk, you run the card, sometimes it's dead, but sometimes it wins you the game because you kill the werewolf. That is card games, my man. That's card games. We're not playing Pokemon here. We're not just searching our deck and finding it. It's not a weird spreadsheet that's obfuscated through non-random card interactions that we just get to file whatever we want and find whatever we want and go do it. It kills a werewolf. That's what a Silver Bullet does. It's a werewolf, Zach.
Yeah.
If I want to kill all
real
the undead,
strong opinions here.
If I want to kill all the undead 2 steps away because undead decks are really good, then I include the card that kills all the undead. And yes, against non-undead decks, it's a dead card. Welcome to card games.
I love the...
That's the point.
Tommy Rushing coming in saying, Steven is my spirit animal.
Well, I mean, like, what? When I'm playing a wizard in D&D, I memorize...
Are there...
I memorize 8 spells, Zach. Here, I'll give you a lesson in D&D because I know you didn't get to play it because
let me make some notes.
So I'm a wizard, and of course, there's arcane rules, and nobody really follows them. But you sit there, and you're in your mind palace, and you get to write down at the start of the session what spells you're going to memorize from your spell book. You've got 18 different options. You get to memorize 8 spells. You know what I don't complain about in D&D? If D&D had a spell where you just put in the spell slot, go get any spell that's useful right now, it would be the most boring wizard on the planet. Instead, what I do is I pick 8 spells rather randomly. Some of my favorite spells, some spells that might be conditionally useful, kind of depend. Oh, we're going to a castle. Well, maybe I'll take Infiltrate the Castle spell. And then sometimes the campaign goes a different place and all my spells are worthless. And that's interesting. And then sometimes the spell that I memorize is the exact perfect spell for the moment. And I'm the hero of the day and I rise up and all of the other characters are like, you are the best wizard on earth. And that is called making interesting games. You know what I mean?
So,
am I complaining that all 8 of my spells are not useful all the time in the game?
Would you say that this is not your favorite card.
Yeah, I hate it.
Here's my question. Okay, so you talked about at the beginning of the session choosing your 8 spells.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's called building a deck.
Sure,
For
but
the layman.
there is, even in the case of the silver bullet toolbox, etc., the restriction of you get to memorize 10 cards that are in your
Spellbook.
No, it's the sideboard.
Yeah, the collection.
Collection. So it's not just go get any spell in the book.
Sure.
You are at least having to pre-pick those.
Yeah.
And like I
cool.
The decks I built, like we had the in-office Sorcery League. It was actually, side note, I'm a little devil's advocate in here, but my thesis when we saw the silver bullet toolbox type cards was like, I think these are so like good enough they will be auto includes in most decks. One of these three that you can basically run, and my concern is that is true, and that now all those interesting choices you're talking about having to make in deck building don't get played.
Right.
And everyone's just going to be reliant on this thing. But two things. I was surprised at how quickly I didn't have space in that list of 10 cards to just actually have everything I wanted. Like I went through and with Silver Bullet, find all the exceptional cards that you could fish out with this. In Fire is basically where I started. I was like, okay, there's literally like 16 different cards I might want here. And then the locations that summon like the Hellhounds and the whatever are super good. Those also have to go in there, and the zombies. And so it's like, oh no, like I only get 6 of these. But conceptually, I actually fundamentally and fully agree with you. However, the reality of the situation makes me a little softer on it.
Yeah.
Because I was suddenly actually putting cards in my deck list through the collection that just had a 0% chance of ever getting played before. And so
not 0.
For me,
all right, give me an example of one of those cards.
All right, let me pull up my deck list.
I'll give you an example. Because here's my ultimate thesis is that the whole point of card games is that the natural randomization of the deck is the entire point of why we even bother to use cards rather than chess pieces or anything else. The decks are randomized. The cards you include are chosen. The order in which they appear is not chosen, and that is the whole tension of card games. I can opt to include riskier but higher impact cards, and the risk is that they are not useful in certain situations. And the upside of consistent cards is that they're always useful, but they're less powerful and less game bending. So the format itself has already accomplished the entire point of card game randomization. It's already there. We don't need to use cards to change the ultimate equation that a card game is built on top of. Now, if you want to play a card that's called, if you want to make a card that's called Mama Pig, and whenever you play Mama Pig, you search your deck for Baby Pig, that is fine. That's basically just a unit that is doing things that are otherwise kind of not possible to do with a straight up top deck randomization. But just broad search for cards that you might want, not tied to flavor whatsoever, is crazy. And Eric knows it's crazy.
Does he?
Yeah, he knows it. Deep down in his bones, he knows it. He listened to all of those smart developers. He probably listened to Jesse.
All right, this is not science.
Sometimes Jesse will message me after he listens to like a live stream. He's just laughing at how much I'm constantly dunking on him. I like that.
I hope he does too. Friend. I hope he actually likes it. So this is not pure science, because my list have been cut down to fit in the 10. There are probably really good examples of cards that people who've played a lot more than me would say. But a good example of this in the first deck that I pulled up was Cave In.
You can play that in your deck.
You can.
Why not?
But it's never good enough for me to actually put it in the deck.
But it could be.
Maybe.
The meta gets filled with decks that stack 6 units on a singular land site. That's what the card is for. That's why it exists. It's so high impact.
The thesis of what I'm saying is, in reality, if you take, let's say you don't have these cards, Gothic comes out, and you look at the 12 months between Gothic, assuming there's 12 months, and the next set, and you say, again, this is so anti-sorcery fundamentally. What I'm even about to say, just know that I know that. But let's say you take every top 8 from any like Crossroad Championship or higher event over the next year, and literally every top 8, and make a list of all the cards that were in all those decks. I think Silver Bullet existing and Toolbox will mean that list of cards is bigger than it would have been if they didn't exist.
But that's just solving a design problem with.
I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just saying in reality, I think that statement that I just made is actually true.
Yeah, you probably will see more cards in deck lists because the collection.
There are cards that you would never put in a deck that you could just randomly draw, that you would include if you get to turn a Silver Bullet into any one of these 5 cards.
Yeah.
Better, worse, design whatever you want to say about it.
I don't disagree that is the outcome.
So when you're looking at a situation, or in reality, looking at what's going on, if you're going to make a case for these cards, I think that's the case. Where it's like, does this enable decks or cards to be played that otherwise just wouldn't? And does it prevent certain decks that wouldn't be a problem if people had access?
That almost never works.
Yeah.
It always ends up hitting the decks that are already tier 2. It's like all the tier 2 decks are the ones that have very specific things that they do, and it sometimes doesn't work mostly. And you just give everybody the one card that they always need to counter the decks that do that. That's what that is. It just means, oh, Enchantress, I just run Dispels. So like now you just can't run Enchantress, who was already not a super powerhouse. Oh, Death Speaker, I just run the banished cards that come into play. Like it always hits the tier 2 stuff. It never hits the tier 1 stuff because the tier 1 stuff is all built on super consistency at a high enough power level that it's always doing the thing that it's doing.
I would be curious.
Never shticks.
I'd be curious to have 2 things happen.
Battle Mage, just throw all get the item removal stuff. Oh, you can't play Battle Mage. Oh,
you're raising an army here.
Look at this go.
I would be curious to hear either live chat or in the Sorcery channel after this. Essentially, what has the on the ground reality been at tournaments so far with this?
And I don't even care about that, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm even just locally, people playing like
I'm a principal man.
How has this actually affected things or not? It could also be just unplayable.
Toolbox, the most expensive card in the ordinary slot.
Expensive in what way?
Exceptional slot. Money.
Oh, people buying it?
Yes, it's the most expensive card there is in there.
Follow the money.
People are playing it.
Yeah.
People are playing it all the time. I couldn't even get. I mean, people are playing Common Sense. I didn't play. Anyway, all that I'm saying, Zach, is if I'm building a deck, I'm making an avatar, and I'm teaching them all the spells that they get to cast throughout the game, minions, magic, etc. And if I want to have a wizard who's really good at tearing down other wizards that are using a lot of equipment, then I need to have the opportunity cost of having the card be dead if my opponent is not using items and equipment.
Yeah.
That's it. But that's it. I'm an interesting wizard. I'm doing interesting things. Sometimes I'm awesome. Sometimes I'm getting absolutely destroyed because all my spells are built for this other thing, and now I can't do anything. It's fine. That's the nature of fantasy.
Yeah. Well, I think the real thing,
freaking Superman,
here,
just do everything well,
is that there's a lot of things connected to this because one thing is most decks in Sorcery, have limited access to card draw. So as compared to most card games I've ever played, the penalty of running and Sorcery is amazing because it has cards, whatever the term for this is, but you'll draw a card and sometimes it's worth like a bunch and sometimes it's unplayable.
Yeah, very high variance in value.
And so limited card draw plus that means that the downside of running very situational cards is massive in Sorcery.
It is, yeah.
Particularly if you're taking the game seriously, in air quotes. So to me, those tools, like, I would be very happy with a world where I'm playing locally or in a league and it's like, we just don't do this.
Yeah, random.
But then if you're going to have like a big championship and people are like taking it serious, that's kind of what these cards are for. Unless you're willing to, like, again, if you don't have these, I don't think you have to have these at all, by the way. And I agree, it's kind of like weirdly not Sorcery to a degree. But like, there's just levers there, and you don't want to make card draw too easy to reduce the cost of drawing a card that is overly situational. And so it's just this whole.
It's just too rawly mechanical for me. And for a game that's so evocative.
So
it's
all of that came from the fact that they announced some prizes for their.
Yeah, I'll take a card though. I'll win those babies.
There's a very good question. If you guys still have some gas in the tank for good questions.
Yeah. Is
Never.
your mic on?
No. It's not. There's a reason. It'll be better next week.
Is the reason that you're setting up for a test shoot out there?
No, the reason is that
Oh,
once I
we-
start recording, I can't turn on and off mics anymore. And I started with my mic off because
Wow.
I was going to clip it back on.
Who knew that?
I just discovered it.
I didn't know that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Found my whole life. I know that.
Harsh Avendare. Hi. Enjoying the stream while I draw. How does sorcery not? I'm horrible. I'm still not sure I can actually read. I think I just memorized a lot of words. How does sorcery not?
I'm pretty sure that's it, man.
How does sorcery not get stale with a yearly release? Fab can get stale after 1 or 2 events when
the
people
game's
figure
amazing.
out the meta.
What happens in any given game of sorcery is incredible.
I think it's multifaceted, but a big part of it is big sets. So you're getting a lot of cards all at once. Another huge part of this is just the exact thing I was saying earlier, where sometimes cards are worth a lot and sometimes they're not worth anything. And a lot of times the a lot is contextual on the meta. And so, Arkham gets really popular, and suddenly there are cards that are very good that are maybe okay most of the time, but in that specific match amazing. So then the meta shifts, and it's like, well, is it true that nothing can actually be dominant? And I feel like this is the case with sorcery. We saw this with beta and Arthurian Legends, where Death Speaker was the thing for like 2 or 3 months, and then all of a sudden people figured it out, and it wasn't the thing anymore.
And it got the thing again.
Kind of keeps shifting. Yeah, it's a loop and
here's the loop and chewy on that.
loop and chewy.
Here's the number one reason for this is that the game itself produces a tremendous amount of unknowable variation every single time you play. Like Flesh and Blood is designed to basically run that simulation between the same 2 decks using the same cards. Like, you'll see that matchup in its entirety every time you play it. So you're always going to see through all of your cards. They're going to see through their cards. You know what they have in their deck. They're going to pitch. They're going to be playing 3 of X, 3 of Y, 3 of Z, et cetera, et cetera. So a game of Fab, like if I'm going in Bolton into Icelander, that game looks the exact same pretty much every time, with some slight tweaks on did they have the block when they needed it? Did they have the ice spell when they needed it? Those are the variations that I'm working with, because I've done that Bolton Icelander matchup a long time ago.
I saw someone the other day describe Fab as repeatedly running the equation 3 minus 3 and trying to get it to equal 1.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, that is true.
But like if I'm training for a Fab event, I'm going to jam Bolton into the top 3 matchups, and I'm going to see basically the same play patterns every single time. When I play a game of sorcery, I have all the sites are likely to be different. All the sites they're playing are likely to be different. The placement of those sites can be different. What creatures should be played where becomes different because of the placement of those sites. Whether or not I hit my thresholds and affinities is different. Whether they blow up my sites or don't blow up my sites. What minions they play, what magic they play. I'm going to see 20 cards of my 60 probably on a good spin. So that's a third of my deck maybe. I've got uniques in there that have a lot of one-ofs, and they can massively change the outcome of a game. One Atlantean Fate changes an entire play pattern for the rest of the game.
I was going to say, too, it's also, in Sorcerer, I feel like there's probably a word for this that I don't have memorized yet, which is how similar decks are from one to another with the same character. But even if you're talking, let's say, mono water necromancer, in Sorcerer, I found the variance between 2 different mono water necromancers at a tournament to be wider than in most games. Whereas in Fab, if I sit down and see you're playing Bolton,
yeah, it's the same deck.
If I understand the meta, it's like I probably know 95% of your deck.
Yeah.
Like on the spot.
You hopefully get 5% to play.
Not even, maybe 99%.
Well, you do know it. I'm 3 Lumina, 3 Vs, 3 of the 16 charge cards, all that math. You got it. You already know it. Anyway, that's why it has a much wider range of variants, which for some people is great, but for high level competitive play, people don't like that. You want to be very consistent, very
it's also
rewarded.
All the stuff going on in the positionality of the game. I think there are ways to play sorcery very badly.
Yeah, I know.
And also to misevaluate cards because of that.
Yeah.
It's like this card isn't any good, but it's also only not good because of the way you're utilizing it or positioning it, or et cetera, et cetera. All that to say, they announced prizes for the grand contest,
Dear God.
including the Silver Bullet, which is a silver bullet flying high above the earth, and other promo cards. I think this is... I'm curious what happened to those really sweet full art foil avatars they were giving out at the Crossroads last year. If that's going to continue, I assume that might become an Avatar of the Realm only thing. That's like the last final tier. I'm guessing that is kind of their more official, almost like World Championship style thing that they're planning on doing. I'm curious what that looks like for Sorcery.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for presumably the next announcement will be that. But this is definitely a scale back. Like the Crossroads were going harder from a prize perspective, and not in like cash fab way, but in like top 4 got the full art avatar promo cards that were based distinctly on the one that you're playing. Those are crazy cool. And not that these are bad.
I bet they're going to hold those for a higher tier event.
Yeah.
That's like an Avatar of the Realm event. It feels like the big one.
Yeah. So it kind of seems like they're setting up for a ton of SCG cons to run this style.
I think, didn't they say in the announcement every SCG con will have a...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
instead of being like select SCG cons. Yeah,
because
it starts with DC. The week before that, there's an SCG con in Cincinnati, which I was planning on going to because I assumed there'd be a sorcery thing. And my good friend Matt Coles is from Cincinnati.
Yeah, beautiful.
But then they're literally in this article said the first one is going to be DC, which is a week later. So I was like, So I'm probably not going to Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's not worth seeing Matt if there's not a...
Well, I also recently traveled, and it's an interesting time to be traveling.
Well, you had kind of a, like, literally a movie style experience.
I don't know.
Bit of a nightmare.
Still makes you a little gun shy. Anyways, yeah. All right, that's it. Minus the Covenant news.
Eric Thompson, hey, quick question or quick chat. Just got into Sorcery thanks to you guys. Eric can send that check. Right here. Opened my first Gothic box yesterday and got so many good water cards. Well, it's good because water is very good right now.
Yeah, I hear that.
And water is one of the greatest substances really in our known universe. It is the only thing that perfectly adapts to the size of its container.
We're going to have to tag team, assuming Avatar of the Realm is a big tournament that we might go to. It might be the one, you mentioned this in Discord, but it might be the one time we could actually tag team on a deck, because if water's the best thing, you're going to have to do something else.
I can't play it. Dave and I are working on an air fire deck currently.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That has...
Water got too good.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it'll pass.
This too will pass.
It'll pass.
Any other comments?
No.
Okay, great. Covenant news. Steven and I yesterday played Hubworld.
Oh yeah, we did.
I teased
so
it
many
last
thoughts
week.
on that game.
We're testing, as we mentioned on the various episodes of this so far. We're testing a new gameplay format that we're planning on doing. Really excited to play Hubworld, so that hopefully will be coming sooner than later. But no promises, because it is, as Jonathan said before we started streaming, an experimentation phase here at Covenant.
I heard
it was going to be up next week. That's what I heard.
I don't believe that's true.
I heard it though.
I heard it could. Hypothetically,
people were talking, man.
Yeah.
He's got you. Look at that. Checkmate.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna split hairs here. No, there's something about the way the molecules bounce. I don't know. I saw it in a science book once, and it was very convincing.
Stuck with me. Yeah.
Very convincing the way those sloshed around.
Anyways, once that gets going, though, I'm really excited about the gameplay format, but also freaking Hubworld.
Hubworld's too good, actually.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about Hubworld in a minute, because we're gonna have the LCG conversation.
The art, it's. I mean, if they listen, okay, you shouldn't do this. Yay, Tom! I'm glad to hear that on the shorts.
Jonathan's behind the camera, pumping his arms. That's a big experimentation that we're doing.
I'm not saying that they should do this, of course, and they're not going to, and we wouldn't ask them to, and most of the audience would be appalled to even hear me say this. But I've seen a good amount of the art now, because we got some of the cards that have the actual art on it. And I swear to you, if they just took those cards and put them in booster packs and did 3 to 4 different alt arts of all the different Seekers, one of them foiled out, they would make $20 million on the first set.
So okay, let's pin that for the core conversation.
And it's just kind of as depressing as it is.
Let's hold that thought, okay? In one part of your brain, hold it for a second. We'll get through the other stuff really quickly, and then we'll come right back to that thought. Okay. So other things that are going on, we're nearing the finish line on what I guess we refer to as landed costs. But this is basically when you're ordering on the website, if you're ordering and you're not in the US, it's going to show you shipping, taxes, fees, the whole thing, and let you pay for it up front, which then means it goes straight to you, doesn't have to stop at customs in your country. lowers the like effort time on that end. There's no surprise cost.
Usually
et cetera,
lower
et cetera.
costs too. Yeah, so this is going to be an awesome improvement. So basically, if you are capable of calculating whenever somebody is checking out from your website, if you can calculate what the customs total will be when that package is imported into the country that is being shipped to, you can pay those costs up front. So we present those costs to you. You pay the entirety of all of the import costs at checkout. That allows us to put a special stamp and whatever on the package to tell your country that these customs have already been paid. We pay those to the importing country. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to go to a customs office. You don't have to worry about it. It sends right on through and goes right to your door. And that's going to make the overall experience 1,000 times better, because if it were me, I would hate having to try to guess or calculate for myself how much is this actually going to cost me once I factor in the import fees and taxes. So it should just be a much better situation for international customers, even if it means we might lose some sales because people are saying, oh, this is going to be a lot to import. And it's like, we would rather you know that now and just not have a bad experience than learn it later whenever you're kind of you got a relative gun to your head, because it's like, I can either pay and get this stuff, even though it's more than I want now, or I can just not pay and send it back and having wasted the initial transaction. So yeah, just better stuff for our international friends.
And then I'm pretty sure we mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but the modals are definitely in and working.
The modals on the subscriptions are working.
What's a modal?
It's a dialog box that pops up whenever an action is taken by the user, typically to direct full attention to the modal, and it overlays onto the website itself and it blurs out the background so that you have a little dialogue that you have to complete before you can go back to your browsing experience. What it really means is that for us, subscriptions and the orders that subscriptions create are separate. So if you have a subscription, let's say it creates an order for the Arkham Investigator decks, that order has already been done, the process has completed. Then 2 weeks later, you come back, you cancel your Arkham Horror subscription. It does not also cancel the order that's already been created, because the subscription is there to just automatically spin up orders. Once it has done that, it doesn't care about where that order came from, and so it's no longer tied to that sub. So what we were able to do is whenever you do go and cancel a subscription or change the quantity of a subscription, or increase it, decreases, etc., we will actually system-wide go look and see if you have an order for the most recent thing that is still in reserve status. If you do, then we will offer you the ability to also change that order while you're changing your subscription. So clearing up a lot of little confusion points for people dealing with the new system, and also just making a better experience for everybody who likely wants to either have those two things work in tandem, or knowing that, hey, these are separate and I don't want to change my order, although I do want to change my subscription. Good example of this is like the latest Fab set. A lot of people were doing this where they might want to maintain their 4-box subscription, but whenever it spins up an order for a set that's all like Lightning, and they don't like Lightning or care to play it, they might change their order to 2 boxes, but leave their subscription at 4 boxes. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about the system. Similarly, you could go in, like in the Arkham subscription, it spins up an order for the Investigator decks. Well, I don't want the Investigator decks. I cancel that order, but I maintain my subscription. So there's reasons to keep them separate. Those are the reasons. And so we're basically keeping them separate, but linking them together in moments where you might want that. So you can optionally say yes or no to those options. That's it.
All right.
Here's Cardboard Guide. Hey, did you, Sylvie, did you hear us talk about the landed costs? I assume, or whichever Cardboard Guide member we have here today, because I think the landed costs you would like in particular. If not, we'll repeat it. Let me know.
Flip, drop, reverse it.
I have got a great question to segue.
Why are you yelling?
Hold on,
at
I'm
us?
not done yet.
I'm just kidding. I know why, because you don't.
There's one last thing.
One last thing.
You mentioned one more thing.
Yeah.
Just pull out your iPhone.
Yeah, landed costs in your pocket.
Payment method deletion.
Yeah, so this is something we put in, really easy kind of quality of life thing. So just right off the bat, you need the payment
really
method.
Easy, says the non-developer.
You need the payment method stuff that you see on our website, like a saved payment method, etc. That is not saved on our website. It's not saved in our database on our servers, etc. We pipe that information in from Stripe, who is our payment processor. Their servers, I imagine, are locked down like freaking Fort Knox. And so we are not exposed. And if our site was to get hacked, none of your financial information would be exposed because it's not on our servers.
That checks out.
But if Stripe were to get hacked, the world would die, would fall apart entirely. So we're just betting on that not happening. So anyway, what you can do though is, and there's a lot of people that didn't want to necessarily have a stored payment method for reasons that are purely theirs, and I don't need to know them. You can go into your account and you can just delete the saved payment method. And what that will mean is anytime you need to pay in the future, you just have to re-add something, and then you can delete it. And so it's just kind of like, I mean, I get it. I'm a privacy guy. I just don't want my payment method even remotely like visible in any number of places. So you can always delete that while keeping your account around. And we eventually will allow account deletion as well. That's just a little bit bigger of a lift.
For sure. All right. That is officially it. We can now segue so we can try to on a live stream convince Andrew Navarro after a campaign is already funded for his successful game to pivot to a TCG model.
So not true. But I do think we should do that.
How do we say the name again? Harsh?
Harsha Vandayar.
He separated it earlier so that we could just say the first name. I don't know why, but my mind can't split that word.
Harsha.
Anyways, I do somewhat wish the Sorcery model was like the Gudnak model with a full set every time and booster boxes for all the cards.
Yeah.
That is a great segue. So, Steven.
I've got a way I want this conversation to go. How do you want it to go?
I want to be along for the ride.
Okay.
So
well,
you
lead
start
us.
Then. Okay. I will, it'll be like on a roller coaster. My hands are up.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Let's all wipe away any idea that we have of what the LCG model is or what a living card game.
So we're defining what LCG is.
We're going to start over from scratch and define LCG as it existed in the world.
If we restarted, we roll back to 2010. There are no LCGs.
There are no LCGs, and I want to run through the historical development of this model, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
So that we're all on the same page.
Some would say the past, present, and future.
I'm going to rewind it. Zach and I are, let's say we're about 14 years old apiece. And we have discovered a game that is based in a universe that at the time we were very, very into, which is the Star Wars universe. It is the Star Wars trading card game by Wizards of the Coast. Every weekend, pretty much, we would go down to the movie barn. Zach's uncle would run the movie barn, and he had a little space in the back carved out for us per our request. And he would stock the Star Wars TCG sets and got set up as kind of a retailer so that he could sell them to us. And so we would go down every weekend, we would buy a few packs, we'd trade, we'd play a bunch of games, we'd build decks, we'd have little tournaments, winner would get a pack or two, etc. Then during the week, most weeks, we would go into Tulsa. We would all carpool with our friend Jason Sospansky. We would go in and we would go to Top Deck Games, which now is a big supporter of Warlord here in Tulsa. And we would play in a tournament with a lot of other people, 20 to 30 different people who would all come to Top Deck Games to play in a 30-person Star Wars TCG tournament every week. And the winner would get a lot of packs, and top four would get packs. And
they give out random packs.
You get random packs. I think everyone got like one pack for entering. I think you pay like $10 to get in.
I remember I wasn't even 16 at the time, but that's why we needed Jason.
Yeah, we had to all ride with Jason.
But oftentimes we would go, and you pay your entry fee, but then I would have like $10 or $15 or something, and so like I remember buying a couple packs after most events as well.
Yeah, you take like your $15-$20, your allowance, your lawnmower money, and you'd enter the event, and then you'd get a few packs at the end. And if you did well in the event, you would get bonus packs, and that was like really sick. And then you would sit there and open them after the tournament. Everyone gets to see what you got.
And you traded
it, etc. So this is the landscape of what I think a lot of people think of when they think of an organized play supported card game. Every week, there's events for you to go to. You get to play with a bunch of other people. You see who's best that week. There are packs given out. There's
promo cards,
a lot of energy, promos, etc. that's happening. And you do it every week. And the organized play is running. And then sometimes you get together and you test together and you try to do well. And then sometimes there's regional events and sometimes there's bigger events.
There's pre-releases and release weekend events.
And if you win the regional, you get to go to Gen Con for free. And there's all these kinds of... This is the environment that card games existed in for a very long time. Since the early 94 all the way up, kind of it became established in the 2000s. This is the model. So this is the model going into the first LCG style games, and they look the exact same. You get cards, you build decks, you compete, you play with other people. Everything is the same, except there are no booster packs.
Well, and it's important to note, Magic comes out in 93. blows up.
Yeah.
Once they have one set, goes crazy. And then in between 93 and the moment you were describing, 2002, roughly,
Mhm.
there are hundreds of card games that come out. It's the first golden age of card games, TCG boom. A lot of our dead games come from that
Yeah.
era.
Beautiful games.
And then in the 2000s, one of the companies making TCGs was Fantasy Flight Games,
Mhm.
who had made Twilight Imperium in the 90s, and that was kind of their big break. But then in the 2000s, it was like Game of Thrones TCG. Before Game of Thrones was a TV show, like very early on that train. Anyways, that's all relevant because 2000s, the TCGs, by the end of the 2000s into like 2010, TCGs had retracted. And so it was like a lot less are coming out. At that point, Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh are like dominant.
Yeah,
Like
established.
the big, so dominant. There's a term for it called the Big Three, which
Mhm.
still sticks around to this day. Anyways,
What I want to establish with this is that this is what a card game is in the mind of a player of card games. This is what a card game is.
and a retailer and a distributor.
Retailer, distributor, this is the whole ecosystem. You buy the packs, you build your collection, you go to weekly events, you get booster packs for winning, you have bigger events, regionals, etc., where you can potentially get bigger and better prizes, and you eventually have kind of a, an organized play circuit around that. And that is a big part of why you participate in card games at all. Big part of it. You have local communities, you have regional communities, everybody tests together and competes, and on it goes. So LCGs step into this moment where a card game is this. And they say, we are that too. The only difference is you don't have to buy booster packs anymore. There's no collectability. There's no, pay to win. Everybody has the same cards from the very start, and we'll see who the best player is without having to worry about who has the most money to spend so that they can run the best cards. Totally makes sense.
And it's important to note there, we should talk to Christian about this at some point.
We should.
And see what his, how he would describe this time.
Mm-hmm.
But the first LCG, as far as I know, it may have been Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, it kind of was.
But I know one of the really key moments early was Game of Thrones. The TCG became the LCG, because essentially the theory, as I remember it told to me, is there's X number of players, which if we didn't have to do booster boxes and collation randomization, and we could just print it in this sort of fixed way
as a board game, basically,
it would be sustainable at this level of players buying it to do it in this way. And also part of the theory, which is this is a much more accessible, financially approachable model. If you lower price and you lower cost, demand, if you've ever had an economics class, they always talk about the reasonable consumer, which is like hilarious to think about. Or the rational consumer, there it is. Rational consumer. In basic economic models, lower price, demand goes up. Like if a slice of pizza costs $20, demand's pretty low.
Right.
$5, higher. $1, now it's really good. Obviously, quality matters in terms of demand, but still, almost regardless of quality of slice of pizza, you get low enough, demand is going to go up. So I think the LCG model on the outset is another thing I just want to introduce conceptually is the product life cycle. So if you search for this curve,
I got a lot to cover before that.
Yeah. Well, the reason I say product life cycle is just the LCG model, I think, can't verify this, need to talk to Christian, would be came out of a TCG in a late stage of the cycle, looking for a way to sustainably continue. And based on that, the theory of if we already have a sustainable level and we make it a lower price, demand will go up. And not only will it be sustainable, it could be very successful.
Well, I think so. We're talking about the LCG. What I'm trying to do is define the LCG model, and I think it's really important to understand that the LCG model comes directly from TCGs, and it basically says we're going to switch from collectible cards to fixed cards. We're going to give people access to those cards as much as once a month. We're going to inject new cards into the card pool. People are going to play the game weekly. There's going to be tournaments. There's going to be prizes. Everything else is going to be the same, but we're going to just basically make it fixed instead of collectible. And I think the assumption there was, and from players and everything, and that did happen early on in LCGs. The model was everybody buys all the chapter packs or data packs or whatever, whether it's Netrunner or Game of Thrones, Conquest, whatever it was from the Fantasy Flight Games catalog. You buy your monthly pack. You meet weekly at the store. The store allows you to play there because they're selling you the packs. And then you compete, and you have your standard play session, and you continue to do that. And then some people are doing that with TCGs, some people are doing that with LCGs. However, that was just more out of habit than reality, strictly. And what you start to understand is that the reality of what this model shift actually represents eventually catches up to LCGs as a model. And that is why we do not currently have a great many of those LCGs that we did. That's also why any new, what would be considered a fixed card game, is starting to come in, like Gudnak or Hubworld, with a very different approach from core set, monthly packs, weekly meetups, organized play, world championships, etc. That eventually the financial realities could not, we're inevitably going to overcome the habitual realities of what it means to play a card game. And with that brought a lot of, I would say, sadness from us and from me as well, but a lot of sadness and dissonance with that realization of, wait a minute, doesn't make sense for there to be weekly meetups without singles pricing and stuff. I don't really want to buy in for $400 to a game that is just fixed. I can't probably sell my collection afterwards. I don't know how to do prizes because there's no prize packs, no booster packs that have any value for this. My players are only going to buy this once a month, once every other month if I'm a retail store, so it's worth very little to me in terms of revenue and profit. And all of these things collapse in and eventually lead to what we're saying, which is that LCG model does not work. It cannot work. It can work if it changes.
But then it's not the LCG model.
Sending LCG packs to a distributor so that they can get bought by a retailer at the price point of $15 to $20 and then sold on a retail shelf, stocking a bunch of different SKUs, keeping everything in with very little rotation, if any. All of these things was a very unsustainable model.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a few layers to that I want to poke at. One is we do currently have the only official LCGs trademarked. Marvel Champions, Arkham Horror.
Co-ops are different.
Co-ops are different, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One of them,
because they're board games,
is because when you start playing Marvel, you can literally buy whatever you want to buy and play it and experience the game and enjoy it. And you're not expected to go play against other humans who have everything and you don't.
There's no difference between a cooperative LCG and a board game.
It's just a board game with a lot of expansions.
A board game with a lot of expansions using cards as the components.
Yeah, but the main thing is, and we saw this with Lord of the Rings even after it was out of print and they were doing the reprints and they were reprinting the cycles, is like, you get into Lord of the Rings LCG today, you can go one cycle at a time.
Yeah.
That's actually a great way to experience the game. As compared to if you tried to get into Netrunner 5 years deep. That's a
very different equation.
It's a very different equation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that. The other thing I want to talk about is the timing. Timing is so important. I talk a lot about trying to win, or when you compete at a big tournament to win, being like really good, really prepared, and lucky. To me, in business, I feel like timing is a huge factor. So LCGs came on the scene in the 2009, 2010 era, and it was Cthulhu and Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, and then it really popped off in 2012 when Netrunner came out. And then they had the Star Wars LCG after that, and then they had the Conquest LCG, which is 40K. And off the races, L5R, yeah. So the timing, though, is really important because I think by 2010, TCGs were basically out of vogue. Like, there was the big three, but there really weren't new TCGs coming out. And so if you wanted to do something that wasn't a big TCG, a natural response to that is the LCG, which is cool because it's like, this is an alternative. It's very different model. It's cheaper. If you don't want to play Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Not only is this a different game, but it's a way different thing going on here.
It's seen as a paradigm shift. Like, this is the future of the card game industry.
But then FFG, the creators of the LCG model, Dance with the Devil, as you might say, in 2016 they released Star Wars Destiny, and this was, I think, for FFG potentially / Asmodee and us, very revelatory because we had spent basically 2010 to 2016 not playing, supporting, buying, selling as a retailer collectible games.
No singles, none of that.
We started selling. The company started selling singles for the Spoils TCG Online in 2007. Collectible game. That's where we started. By 2010, we're not selling any collectible games.
Monpog was collectible, yeah.
But then it went non-collectible.
Mm-hmm.
They went the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, though, the idea that FFG would make a CCG was seen as like a betrayal. And the fact that we would support a CCG was like,
it was a bit of a,
what's all this you've been talking about LCGs being the greatest thing since sliced bread? But Star Wars Destiny came out. Phenomenal game. One of my favorites still of all time. And even Destiny, though, was just like a more expensive LCG. We talk about it like that because like you could reasonably actually get playsets of things. And if you bought enough boxes, you're almost certainly going to get the playset, as compared to like, I don't think it's reasonable to buy enough fab boxes to actually get a playset of every set for 99% of people. Like you're at 20 or 30 boxes of a fab set to open it all naturally, which is not reasonable for most people. Whereas Destiny, instead of spending $2 or $3 to get a playset, we did saga sets. You could literally spend $600 a set and have a playset.
Yeah.
That's how like not intensely collectible it was comparatively. But even still, the jump from an LCG to $600 a playset for Destiny was so revealing, like immediately. We had spent 4 years at that time having a local store open, catering explicitly to LCGs. And basically LCGs.
And X-Wing.
And X-Wing, yeah. And I have told the story a lot on the podcast before, but I think it was the second set, Spirit of Rebellion, came out. And it was a week or two after release, and it was just a random weekend. I was in the store on a Friday, and I was just like watching people all night continue to buy boxes. At the end of the night, I ran the math, and it was, I don't remember the exact numbers at this point, but that one night, not even release night, not like anything crazy, as a store, we made something to the tune of like 20 or 25 times the revenue that we would make on the Game of Thrones LCG at the time all year long.
Right.
And this is Destiny, which is like, is more collectible than Game of Thrones LCG, but compared to something like a Fab or something. And it was just really eye-opening.
Yeah.
Which is like, well, why do most stores not care about LCGs?
Right.
And then you taste Destiny, and it's like,
that's why. So here's the hard truth. Here's the reality. The randomized loot box model of life is more successful across everything. It just is. We can argue with that it shouldn't be. We can say that ethically that's problematic. We can say that the fundamentals of that are depressing. But if you want to compare, you know what? If you want to compare the amount of money that Super Smash Brothers has made versus the amount of money World of Warcraft has made, you should. Because one game you buy once, and then you get everything all at once. You get access to everything you could ever need, and you find who the best player is, and everybody has the same tools. The other one, I run a dungeon, and I might have a 1% chance of getting the coolest sword in the game. And for whatever reason, which I'm sure there's many psychology people and studies about that, people want to do the second one, and they're willing to pay more time and more money to do it. And at the same time, I can turn around and sell my World of Warcraft character for $60,000. And I can't do that no matter how good I am at playing Kirby, Jonathan. So that's the world we live in. I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to be mad about it anymore. That's the world we live in. And that is why the TCGs are going to forever be more successful financially than the LCGs. Fixed products are never going to be as desired as collectible, rare, weird products.
And that hits on, we've had sort of this conversation so many different times. But the reality of the thesis I said earlier about lower price means higher demand not being true, piggybacking on what you just said, which is it's not true. There have been really successful LCGs that probably could have been sustainable. But even, I don't know the math. I have to ask Christian again on this one. I think Netrunner was the most successful LCG in terms of just volume, sales, units, players, etc. at its peak. And even then, if Netrunner instead was a TCG, it would have been insane.
Would have been What do you think the factor is of Star Wars Unlimited versus Netrunner LCG? How much more money per
Player? Or
year? Per year. I mean, it's a factor of 100x, right?
At least 100.
Maybe more.
I mean, it's not even remotely close.
Right. And what you have to understand is the same design work, the same art, the same templating, the same graphic design. Everything is the same. The packaging is the only thing that changes. Packaging and collation is the only thing that changes.
Kind of going back to you almost got us there during the news. You look at Hubworld, right? And so we were sent cards. We're doing gameplay, producing the stuff. But I was going through building decks, and like you look at it, it just really frames it up. Where it's like you have done all of the work.
You've made some of those beautiful cards in existence.
In
the world.
You've done the same amount of work. So Hubworld is planning on doing, and we can get into what an LCG is and the different models and the approaches from like Gudnak and Hubworld and stuff. But Hubworld is planning on 2 releases a year. So instead of the monthly smaller packs, it's like bigger. And then each of those releases, each box is a draft cube for 4. Super cool. That's a very smart,
incredible amount of value in that box.
But I'm looking at essentially a draft cube for 4 and like the cards that are going to come in a first set. And they could so easily, they've done all of the work to produce 2 TCG sets a year on the same exact model. And yes, to a degree, you have something like Game of Thrones early on when it was transitioning. Like, it requires a certain scale to be successful as a TCG because collation is expensive. And you don't want to collate like 1,000 booster boxes. So like you do have to get to a certain level. But I'm very confident that Hubworld would be at that level and is at that level. And they're already doing all the work to do the design, the art.
It would be the freshest TCG on the market. It's not IP garbage. It's not like it's original. It's new. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's well designed.
Yeah.
The game is brilliant.
So when you look at it, if you're doing all the work and you're electing one model over the other, like there's a lot of reasons you might choose one or the other, but
it ain't money.
It's not money. In fact, money has to not be important to you to choose the LCG model.
That's right.
Which is challenging because money isn't not even profit. I'm just talking resources to do the thing you're trying to do.
There's a caveat to that.
Yeah.
Which is basically if you don't think you can reach the minimum scale that a TCG needs to work.
Yeah.
The LCG can still get your idea out in the world without crashing and burning. And I think Gudnak, for instance, I think is a good example of this. If you took Gudnak and you made it into a TCG, I don't know that it has the legs to reach the minimum viability to get to set 2, 3, and 4. I don't know.
I mean, interestingly, so they did the first campaign, then they did the second campaign with an expansion. The second campaign also had the booster boxes.
Yeah.
So one thing that makes Gudnak fascinating is they're the first people, as far as I know, that have pulled off the non-collectible expandable model. So here's a core set, here's some expansions, and then seemingly about once a year they're adding a new expansion. You can get all the content, you can buy all the cards in the game right now for, I don't know, it's like under $200. But then the booster boxes are all foil, alt art,
cosmetic
upgrade.
Yeah.
So suddenly you can do draft and sealed and collect the game, but it has no impact on what you have access in terms of the game. So they added that booster box in the second campaign. And so interestingly, they seemingly have to be at the point where there's enough demand and it's a great test. I don't know. I don't have a conclusion.
How is that product done for them? Because I think you have to have, I think the initial startup costs and like printing costs for a TCG are higher than an LCG. The upside is exponentially higher. But it also does cost more, I think, to start that process versus going to like a random Panda or board game manufacturer and saying, can you print me a sleeve of these fixed cards 1,000 times and put it in a box?
That is much easier for sure.
It's got to be much easier.
Yeah. And so whether or not that version of the model makes sense but other things going on here too, beyond the money, is like, as you said earlier, TCG is the language of the industry.
Yeah.
Players, retailers, that's how this is the form factor.
That's the transition I want to make.
And so same thing with you're just trying to understand who is this game for, whether it's Hubworld or Gudnak or insert any other LCG here, or what's anytime you're doing something truly new, the ability to communicate what it is and why it's worth doing, that's a huge barrier to get past.
And to FG's credit, they did that, and they have done that, right? We don't like the idea of pay to win. We don't like the idea that you have to have a lot of financial resources to get the cards you need
Yeah.
to play our game.
Their old
Those are all
tagline,
really good.
Play the game, not the chase.
Yeah, and those are really good. That's true. Those things are true, and there
Yep.
is an unfairness to that, and there always has been. And we experienced it as kids, where we'd walk in,
Yep.
and there's the she always wore combat boots. I forget what her name was, but she had the 16 white cardboard boxes of the set that had just come out, and she had every
I
card.
remember that.
Every card imaginable, all foil, all non-foil, etc. And we're sitting there. I would love to have my third TIE fighter, but I haven't pulled it yet. So I guess I'm going to use this other thing that's less good. And there's an inherent competitive unfairness to that, without a doubt. But what I think is key to what you're saying is that LCGs tried to live in a world that was speaking the TCG language and just pretend that they were the same. And what we need to be talking about, and what I think Andrew and Tim and Ian, all the people who are anyone out there who's wanting to make a fixed rarity card game, what you need to be asking yourself is, how do we speak a different language that is actually more suited to this model? So one of the things that I was talking about in the industry discussion, there's a number of ways to go about this. One is, you need to basically either give up on the idea that you're going to have weekly play in LGS, because it makes no financial sense for them. And there is a caveat to that I will cover. Or you need to find a way to incentivize them to do that. And that might look different than you get a discount on product and you get to sell booster packs to your clientele. One other thing you need to look at is, there are too many people taking a cut of this sale for it to make sense. With manufacturing costs, with the traditional distributors, with the retailers, then selling to a customer, you have 4 parties involved in that exchange, if not more. And when your price point of a given item for an LCG pack was originally $15, let's say $20 for easy math, compared to $100 or $120 booster box, you are in a different world where you just simply cannot give up all of those different steps in the margin and still have a viable product.
Yeah, and ultimately, that reality is a huge reason behind the 2020 Ashes Reborn PDP model.
That's right.
Which is like the reality of trying to serve Ashes in the traditional means at a small scale. The math just doesn't math.
Math doesn't math.
Yeah.
So and you guys have seen us experiment with this stuff, and you've seen us even now with the various ways that we have done and continue to do fixed games, can you cut out a piece of this? Can you cut out a distributor? And could it be possible, and this is very much possible, some people would be able to do this, I gave Games Workshop as an example, could you have a publisher that just runs the LGS? Right? So if you're a publisher, if you're Earthborn Games and you had an Earthborn Games store, and you were running Hubworld weekly in that store, and you were selling Hubworld to new players as they come in, your cut of that sale is so much bigger because there's so many fewer middlemen that actually now becomes, making a new Hubworld player is actually a much more lucrative thing for you.
That's also, it's kind of like a tabletop gaming restaurant to me, which is like, let's combine 2 models that are very hard to be successful.
Absolutely.
So
not saying it's viable.
Yeah. But technically, if you had, like, let's say Asmodee, massive company with lots of resources, like, we're going to open 100 owned stores. And in those stores, we're going to sell our head-to-head competitive LCG.
And run weekly events for them, et cetera, et cetera.
And you are the distribution, you are retail, you are the creator, you have all of it. You even just like the holistic buy-in and the organized play and hosting the events, like, there's just like a ton there for you if they wanted to get into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But for an indie LCG maker or indie card game maker, making a card game is hard enough.
Yeah.
Let alone opening 100 stores.
That's where you just need to think about it. So, like, if you're an LCG manufacturer and having these conversations with Andrew and Gudnak and all this, is like, how many middlemen can you cut out between you and the sale to get as much of that margin to make it worth making this style of game over a TCG? And so there are options there, and you need to keep considering those options. And then you say, well, I could just, I could produce the game. If you're a would-be publisher, you could spin up a website. You could try to produce the game and just sell it direct to people. I know some people do, like Level 99, I think, does a lot of that. A lot of publishers are now running their own web stores. The problem there, of course, is like, do you want to do your own customer service, warehousing, run your e-commerce channel, et cetera, et cetera? Do you have the marketing potential that you need to actually get people to play this game? And then you have to ask the question of the fixed card game model is, do people gather to play this? Where and why? And how do we incentivize that behavior? How do we make that happen? So we've spun it around in our Discord many times of like, what if the local model was just $20 a month for access, $50 a month for access? That way, you don't need the retail sale portion of your model to justify the players that you're hosting. You know, you could come in and you could play a game from 1982 if you want to go play Risk. If everybody at that Risk table has paid me $20 to get in, then I don't care that I'm not selling Risk to them.
Well,
right?
I think this points to the more fundamental economic model / problem, which is LCGs are viable if players are willing to spend $500 every time something comes out.
Sure.
Just like a TCG.
Right.
To have the game and have the space to play it and have the events. The problem is, which is what you were just kind of speaking to, which is like even the local membership model. We have internally danced on this one endlessly.
We continue to.
Yeah, because anytime, and I saw in the industry discussion or the general chat in our Discord, someone mentioning this kind of thing where it's like, well, maybe as a local retailer, the real upside of an LCG is getting people into your store and then all the other stuff they can do. And so fundamentally, I
call
think,
it the Costco hot dog.
Yeah. Fundamentally, though, first of all, recognizing that if it is a Costco hot dog, that's what it is. And it's going to be treated like a Costco hot dog.
Yeah, that's right.
But
you mean consumed every time I walk in?
the disconnect, like our big question mark with 3.0 right now in general, this is a decade-long conversation, is the gap or the disconnect between how you make money and how you add value. And in local game store talk in the 90s, you make money selling products, you have value in the fact that you have the products to buy. So you want to buy Magic in 1995, you go into a store and you find Magic.
And Zach, what gets you to buy more Magic from a store? You want to keep playing it.
Well, that does help.
You need to be able to play the game so that the packs you're buying have value because they mean you do better in the next game that you play.
In 95, though, the vast majority of places where you can buy Magic don't even offer you somewhere to play.
True.
Or tournaments or any of it.
But you can see how that would arise.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, well, we're selling a bunch of this. What if we gave them a space to play it in? And if I'm competing against the local store across town, what if my space is the place you want and I'm hosting tournaments and leagues and you start doing all this stuff?
Because, and this is fundamental, I don't want to lose this. We don't say this enough, but the fundamental equation there is that the more that somebody plays this game, the more money they'll want to spend on buying booster packs for that game.
Yeah, or presumably the next time a new product comes out, at least. Not even like, hey, I'm going to get you here. Yes, you will continue selling the thing that you have right now if you have it. But there's ongoing things coming out for this thing. So if I have 100 people that are coming at least once a month to hang out and play in my store, and then a new product comes out, ABC, here we go.
That's helpful.
However, there's a huge gap where I think at this point, with the way the internet has evolved and technology and online fulfillment and all this kind of stuff, that the vast majority of value a local retailer can add is actually place-based community building, showing new games, demoing new games, promotion, et cetera, et cetera. Not actually just having a product on a shelf and selling it, or on a shelf and selling it.
Yeah.
As a retailer, retail being the idea of buying a good and having it available for people to purchase, right? Like Target is not having to give me space to cook in for me to go buy something from them, or give me space to hang out in to wear the clothes that I bought from them, or whatever it is.
Right.
So,
but you also, I mean, it's worth looking. You look at the retail goods that are working in a place like Target or whatever, where it's like these are like goods that are very difficult to ship. So fresh food, oranges, apples, etc. I can actually see them, get the ones that look the best, make sure they're not damaged, etc. They need to be like fresh. So like shipping them around the country, keeping them refrigerated. These are all very difficult direct to consumer things to achieve. Clothes, I need to try on. Does it fit me? Easy to. So like there's all of those factors that do not apply to tabletop games. Same exact box, same exact wrapping, same exact contents. Everything is identical. There's no reason that a box at a retail store is of any higher value or more, I guess, easier for me to appreciate than a box that I buy online. The only question is, do I need the cards now?
Which
so singles counters and stuff can help, and because it is impulse.
There is upside to I can drive down the street and buy a booster box, and
Yeah.
it's now I don't have to pay shipping. I don't have to wait on
Yeah.
it. We're going to get together this weekend. I'm going to go get a box so we can draft or whatever it is.
There are
But
moments where that does have value.
the main, working our way back to how we got here, the more disconnected how you have value and how you make money are, usually the worse the business model is and the harder it is for that thing to actually work and sustain.
Mhm.
And at minimum, it means the incentives are very misaligned. So the store that becomes best at selling, and the whole system is incentivizing volume. So the more you buy from distribution, from a single distributor, the more your allocations are, which means the more you can sell, which means the more you can buy. And inevitably that boils down to deep discount online retail, sell the max volume you can, get the biggest allocation,
Mhm.
create a system that means you can have 50 employees working in a warehouse shipping the thing, and you're selling, an LCG or $100 release for $55 because you make $5, but you do it 10,000 times.
Yeah.
And you're just, it
Scale.
eventually degenerates to that.
Mhm.
And so those two things being separated is difficult. So you get back to a membership model, and if you look at strictly, which we did, the extreme, what if you didn't sell products at all?
Mhm.
What does that work? Could you
Yeah, the
could
game
you
club, if
could
will.
you make a successful model in that way? And similar to LCG packs, I think it's, I'm not gonna say it's impossible. I'm not I won't say it's impossible. But at $20, $30 a month per person, the number of people you have to just to even start to break even on
Mhm.
a decent place to play and staffing it is pretty staggering.
Mhm.
And it reminds me of the LCG math, because you cannot replace, let's say the average Magic player buys on average. So you have your way big spenders and you have your I just draft
Mhm.
and sell my singles back to the store people. $500 every time a set comes out. So like every other week.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
Every
like
day.
every other month, right? Actually, genuinely, Magic, average player might be spending $500 every 2 months. So $250 a month. You cannot replace $250 a month with a $20 membership.
Right.
And a $20 membership, interestingly, is a barrier that the thesis here is how many people are willing to pay for a $20 membership?
That's the thing.
And that's where I go back to LCGs are sustainable if you're willing to pay $200 a month for them.
Right.
But you're not. Like,
That's
part of the appeal of the LCG is it's $15 a month or whatever it is. And so, anyways, they're all tied together.
It's like at every turn when you're trying to get you're trying to get the living card game to fit the language of the TCG. It's failing in both directions because you need to charge a higher price for a fixed content pack, but the perceived value of that fixed content pack is infinitely lower. So that the difference between a booster box and a fixed box that costs the same, the difference in perceived value of the booster box is so much higher than the fixed, because this could have the ring in it.
Mm-hmm.
This could have the freaking
possibility,
foil
yeah.
Nazgul in it. This will never have that in it. I can't resell it. I don't.
Mhm.
So the perceived value is lower, but the need to charge more for it to be sustainable is higher. Similarly to exactly your point, the membership model of the LGS, the need for that to exist needs to be higher, and it needs to make like probably $50 a month is actually reasonable. But the perceived value of accessing a space for a monthly fee is extremely low.
Yeah.
So at every turn, they're split across this very problematic diagram. So what do you do?
Well, and I think that's places we went were how nice would a space have to be and what would it have to offer to be worth paying for? And so you ask that question. What would, in both, there's two things going on here. LCGs and LGSs.
Yeah.
Local game stores. Which is like, what would the model have to look like to charge more? Because I think with the LCG model, if you're going to be fixed and lower cost, easier to like price wise, one of two things has to happen. Either demand has to go rapidly up because it is more accessible on a price perspective, or you have to be able to charge a premium for that reality. Destiny kind of did this, which is like, there are enough people willing, it's kind of collectible. And for $600, you can buy a place, like you can have a full play set from us, technically. And that was crazy that we ever did it, a lot of work, etc. But you can do it. So there were some number of people willing to pay $600 every 4 months, plus or minus 8 months, to just have play sets of Destiny. So
And yet still the perceived value was very high of those cards.
For sure.
you know?
But no one has ever, like, even Hubworld, right? It's like, it's actually crazy to think about. The cost of the Hubworld set 1 box is less than the average booster box in today's day and times.
And you get the full play
And
set.
you get the full play set.
And a draft cube.
And a draft cube.
And all the same art and all the same card design and all the same heart and passion.
So, given the pricing, my assumption is one of 2 things on Andrew's part, and we can just talk to Andrew at some point about this on the content.
He would love. I'm sure he's like staring at the screen, like banging his head against.
They're either you're philosophically committed to a more sustainable, environmentally friendly.
I think that's definitely
methodology,
and more like fair, ethical,
and philosophically, you're like, or ethically, you think that the booster box model is like to degenerate one way or another, or and also could be. You think that what you're doing at $100 is valuable enough that more people will do it, and or enough people will do it to actually make this sustainable. And I do think the twice a year release, bigger release draft cube is, I think it's very smart of an evolution to a typical LCG model, because one of the fundamental problems in LCG that we didn't really even talk about yet is not having booster packs removes the ability to do draft and sealed, which are 2 of, that's like my favorite way to play card games, period. It's also very new player friendly when a set comes out and you can just go join a sealed. And LCG also removes the super, 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 super easy organized play valve of, we have a weekly tournament and we give away packs.
Like you have it. I call this a distributable unit of value baked into the model.
Right on top.
You can always give somebody a booster pack and it is worth something.
Yep. And it's like, that just makes tournaments so easy. Like, listen, we had 4 years of only LCGs. We did extensive leagues and custom tokens and custom prizes and custom.
Yeah, you have to make all the stuff that you give out.
You're just grinding to try to make it. And we were committed to the idea and we were doing it. And it was not at all, like, we went as hard as you could go, and we had very successful LCG communities, and it was not sustainable. If we didn't have the online side of business,
over.
Crazy. And that's where a lot of the problems you start recognizing that lead us to where we are today. But the Hubworld version at least replaces the draft sealed reality. And
people love cubes.
The twice a year releases, so they're bigger and they're more impactful. I think that's going to feel a lot better. I think logistically that's a lot easier to pull off. And the rotation of only planning on having 4 of these legal at a time. So one of the issues with retailers eventually with Netrunners, there's 82 SKUs, and you can't just have all that on the shelf. But if you're a new player and you want to play X deck, you have to get these 6 packs. So then naturally also, new player comes in, maybe they learn even how to play, they play in a local tournament. Now they have to go online to get the stuff. And they go online, and suddenly the thing you were saying earlier, which is, a fresh hot dog from Costco is something I can't order online and have delivered to my house while I'm shopping. However, once you go there and it's like, oh, it's like 40% less to buy from this random warehouse online. And then you start doing the math. I told this story a lot too, but I had the friend come into 1.0, buy X-Wing from us, and then be like, hey, are you aware that like I could have saved $80 buying this online? And it's like,
thanks
for buying from us, but like that feels, as a retailer, it feels horrible. It's like, you're just being nice, and my business is based on your charity here, which I always hate. But there's a lot wrapped up in there.
So here's my question then. So there's also 2 more assumptions to address that I think go in the LCG's direction. And again, we're just talking about fixed distribution card games at this point. One is, it seems like the traditional understanding of the fixed card game model was really targeting existing card game players and saying, like, you could play this for less and without having to chase down the collectible cards instead of buying the booster boxes that you're already buying. But I think there's a big opportunity for identifying the audience that would never touch a TCG, but they would touch a fixed card game. And if you're able to do that, you're able to unlock an audience that is previously untouched. That's good. The second thing is, yes, while TCGs do make a lot more cash, they are pretty consuming. And so if I'm thinking purely in kind of Machiavellian marketing terms, if I'm a retailer with 30 very loyal customers all playing Flesh and Blood, could I bring in Hubworld and get those 30 players to give me an extra $200 a year? That's basically the question that I'm asking. I'm not asking them to stop playing Fab and start playing Hubworld. I'm asking them, could I get an additional $200 out of these players?
Sure.
That Hubworld or Gudnak or any of the fixed card game models are enough similar and in the pocket of what they want that they would buy them, but they're not going to replace like the main language TCG with them. And so there's a viable add-on argument to say, we're not asking for this to be a weekly tournament. We're not asking for, but would you buy it as a supplement?
Well, I think the two we kind of keep talking about are Gudnak and Hubworld. So Gudnak specifically to me fits that bill really well, which is at a pace of once a year or less, even just the amount of content that's out there right now for Gudnak, it is easily marketable to current card gamers as a lower buy-in, lower energy, need a break from game A, right? Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Star Wars Unlimited, Flesh and Blood, Lorcana, etc. So I think that could be a very viable alternative. Hubworld is, in whatever scale we're talking about, possible, but it is, I think LCGs in a traditional sense, I think about Netrunner, it was asking for your full attention.
Yeah.
It wasn't even trying to position itself in that way. I also don't think traditional LCGs were positioning in this is card games that are accessible for people who traditionally wouldn't be into card games. It was, as you said, targeted at card gamers.
Right. It's like people who already knew that there was a chase and there was a monetary thing and all of these kinds of things. They've been experiencing that.
So if you can unlock that, but that's also that's a slippery slope / tricky hat trick to pull off, right? As an example, I would assume Hubworld and Gudnak would be way more appealing to board gamers than Flesh and Blood, generally speaking. But also, trying to compete in the board game space with a card game is challenging.
Yeah.
Because board gamers have no shortage of things that they could get into that are actually just board games.
And are typically not really looking for the 1v1 thing.
Customize your deck before you show up.
It's just like 3 to 5 people get together every week or every month and they bring the 7 different board games and they play. And it's like, oh, here's one, but only 2 of us can play it.
Yeah.
That isn't exactly an easy sell a lot of the time.
Yep. I think for a game, I do think a game like Gudnak can position itself as a nice, for card gamers, off-season game. For people that don't want that intensive a game, the main game you're doing, but way slower. It could also market themselves to board gamers as an example. But when you think about Hubworld and Gudnak specifically, to me, for Gudnak, the real target is the kitchen table. Like, this is for people that maybe they did play card games, and there's 2 or 3 friends, they just want to play a card game, but they don't want to spend the kind of money you spend on Magic or actually try to keep up with that. Gudnak is like a really approachable, you can get your arms around it sort of thing. And it's like, oh man, remember when we used to do the booster packs and the thing?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, let's buy a box of Gudnak Means War. And then we'll each open like 5 packs. And then once a week, we'll just add a pack. And like, you can suddenly do that with that.
Yeah.
It's not asking though and for some people, it could be all consuming. This is your main game. But I don't think it on the surface is doing that.
But now you're talking about shifting the language. And I think that's really what the model has got to do. It has got to shift the language of expectation around what this actually is about.
Yeah.
And stop trying to bang its head against why does my local store not want to support this game?
Yeah. Well,
because it will not. I mean, aside from, again, the publisher has to be willing to be a certain kind of person to do this in the first place, which means they're motivated outside of really market interests. And then the local store has to be the same kind of person.
Yeah.
Like we were for a long time, where it's like very motivated outside of our own financial interest.
I think on the retailer side of the fence, like there is, I wouldn't even say it's not, like you can support Gudnak or Hubworld as a store and it's not like financially negative.
Right.
But I think
unless you're full every week, every day of every week.
Yeah. And that's where LCGs lived for a while.
Yes.
It's like stores aren't living
Tuesdays.
off of Netrunner.
Yeah.
They are living off of Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Warhammer, etc. And then they have the bandwidth and there's 2 players that are really into Netrunner. So they'll let them host the event at the store. And yeah, you get 20 people buying Netrunner from you once a month when it comes out, and that's like a cool bonus thing that we get to do.
Yeah.
And there's like a retail mix, right? It's just like if you went to Target or Walmart, like they're gonna have items that make them a lot of money, and then they have a bunch of other stuff because they need a volume of stuff to make it worth coming and doing the thing, and etc. Pick add-on sales and all that kind of stuff. However, in that conversation, as an LCG type game, you have to recognize you're the Costco hot dog.
Yes.
Right? And Costco hot dog is like loss leader, brand statement thing.
Delicious.
So like that's an aggressive example, but like what item you are in the retail store, like are you the money maker and the thing that means that this business can be here, or are you the thing they pick up at checkout on their way out?
And your expectation should be, I can play in this local store, but I should expect nothing. Like I'm not going to get. Why are they giving me prizes? What are they going to give me?
Yeah. Well,
what are they going to give me?
And I think that thing
Store
about
credit?
Hubworld is a different scenario than even Gudnak, like because it's one tier further down the. I don't know how to define that, but the expectations are the huge part of that for me, because I remember when Destiny came out a year in, we had religiously supported the LCGs forever, and our oldest community at the time was Game of Thrones LCG, and there were Game of Thrones LCG players that were upset about the level to which we were supporting Destiny, but. And I had a sit down conversation with some of them. We went out. I was like, "Hey, why are you guys upset?" And the reality was, like, at the time, you announce a Destiny tournament. It's like, on this Saturday, we're going to be doing this a month from now. And then you have prize kits from the store. You have booster packs. You host the event, doing nothing else besides just putting it on the calendar and posting on social media. 50 people show up, and they pay you $20 to be there. And then after the tournament, they spend thousands of dollars on booster boxes.
Right.
And then you do the same thing for Game of Thrones, and 8 people show up. And there's no booster packs, and you use the prize kits that you have.
Maybe FFG sent a couple of tokens or something.
Yeah, and you charge $5 to get in, and it's like you host it. You have the space, which I think was the best space to play, tabletop gaming space to play in Tulsa at the time. We host the event. We have staff members that run it. They know the rules. They're running the tournament. Players aren't even having to be the ones to do it in our store, and our players are upset. And it's like, well, we're not actually supporting it more. It's just that we announce it and 50 people show up.
Well, they were expecting the traditional language of TCGs just applied to not a TCG.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just not the same thing, and we need to get away from that. But what does a game like Hubworld? See, the thing is, as somebody who played Hubworld yesterday, I want a place to play Hubworld every week.
For sure.
So how do we make that make sense? How does that happen? I'll nest it into a bigger question. If the LGS environment tomorrow poofed off the face of the planet and there were no local retail stores hosting any events for any game, would the LCGs sell better than the TCGs or vice versa?
I think at this particular state, if the local game stores disappeared tomorrow, I don't think it fundamentally changes the math.
Everything is still the same. And I think
it would be a net negative on the industry and the hobby and the number of people that play and how many people get interested in stuff. But in terms of like how much do TCG sells versus LCGs, I think they're both like I don't think it changes that math.
So it would be the same. So the organized play component of any of these games is not the singular driver. Like it's not that all these Magic tournaments are getting hosted, and if they weren't, then Magic sales would tank and Netrunner sales would go up, right? Well, does the LCG thrive if stores aren't changing the math or the equation at all, or is this just what people want to buy?
I think the answer in that is just in the history of exactly what happened, which is like
the pandemic.
No, not even
lost
that.
Their minds.
Magic came out,
yeah,
and it's like this ecosystem doesn't exist. It exists in response to Magic.
Not Magic in response to the ecosystem.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying.
And so like it played out. People really wanted it, and they wanted a place to play, and they wanted tournaments, and they wanted pro tours, and they wanted a world championship, and you just keep barreling down the list. But if you just on the surface, like whether you're competing for retailer attention or you're competing as a game, if you think, and I would love to be wrong, side note on what I'm about to say, but if you think for like Hubworld as an example, if the perception as a player or the publisher or whatever is for $100 per complete set twice a year, we could possibly ever think about competing with what Flesh and Blood can offer weekly at a local tournament space, 2 retailers, 2 players as a publisher, the math is not there.
Yeah.
Like
it cannot work.
It doesn't work, because even if you, let's say hypothetically you were wealthy beyond imagination and you're like, I'm going to pour in the resources Fab pours into organized play and marketing and local support and stuff for 5 years. Even if you gave it all that support, it doesn't raise the sales of Hubworld enough to ever justify the cost that you're spending.
Yeah. 100%.
It's just, the math is fundamentally not there.
It's 100%. Yeah. So, but what you can do is you can get together and play the game however you want to. Right?
Wherever you want, however you want. Yeah.
Friends' houses, local stores that will have you, et cetera, et cetera. But you just have to understand that you're speaking a different language to the industry. The store owner and the distributor, and everybody is going to be treating that differently, not because they hate you or because they hate fixed cost games or fixed card games, but because there is unavoidable market reality to this. And so you, as a local store that wants to support this model, or as a publisher that wants to make this model, have to create a new language. And then you have to have a big burden, which is you have to get enough other people to speak that language. And you can't just ride the coattails of what a TCG is as a player, as a distributor, as a store. It is fundamentally not the same thing.
Yeah, I think if I were going in as a publisher trying to publish a non-collectible expandable card game, if you decide that what you want or desire or what you think you need to be successful is local communities playing at local game stores routinely, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever, I think just very quickly acknowledging you're not ever going to get to offer the level of support or the level of attention from retailers as a TCG. Start there. You don't need to be the bread and butter, but to your point, also, if you're positioning yourself as an alternative to TCGs and asking a retailer to get someone into an LCG instead of a TCG, where you already have 40 people in the community playing whatever the game is, and also every player that gets into a TCG to a retailer is in the long term going to be worth 20 times as much as an LCG player. If you just recognize that quickly, then you understand what kind of product you are in the chain.
So that controls what kind of products you make.
What kind of
controls
support you
how
offer.
You talk about those
Like,
products.
in
how
my
you market.
mind, it's like, make it as easy as possible for a store to add you as a supplementary product. Be great at being the Tuesday night thing. So this is not the Saturday 12-hour long tournament with the top 8 and all that stuff, but this is like Tuesday night, 2 or 3 rounds vibe. And like, let them use their extra space, be the alternative for players that can't afford to be into the other games. Also, if you can somehow pull off the hat trick of, can you attract a large audience of people that aren't already playing TCGs to your thing? That's very appealing to a retailer, because you're now bringing people to them. But again, it's like, well, why would you're doing a lot of work to bring people to a retailer to give them a large cut, but that would be because you've decided it's really important to have routine local communities for your thing to exist. Another seemingly very valid approach to me is target 2 to 4 player kitchen table groups. You're not even worried about the store.
Right.
But how do you actually, and there's like a lot of lanes you can go down. And I think you see there are cool evolutions happening to the former LCG model through Gudnak and Hubworld, but a really clear understanding of what your product is, who's going to play it, why they're going to choose your thing. And then if you need support from people like retailers, how it could actually possibly ever make sense for them to support this thing. And realistically, what kind of support they can even offer you. Those are all really good things to be clear on going in.
Here's another thing to consider before we
I have a question for
get
you.
out of here. Yeah, go ahead.
I think this is a fascinating question.
So what's the recommendation for people like me who have dreamed up a game? Well, I mean,
more TCGs.
I mean, again, so it's not all upside for TCGs. So one of the things that's important to understand is that a lot of people who play World of Warcraft only ever deal in the auction house. Like, that's just, it's crazy. Like, when you actually think about it, people just like the financial side of it, and buying furs and selling it for potions and offering their Crusader buffs for 80 gold and Iron Forge, whatever. That is how a lot of people get enjoyment out of anything. and these games included. So by ripping that component out, by ripping all of those secondary things that people like to do out of your card game, you're targeting your audience to a much smaller group of people who just want to compete at card games 1v1, right? Like that is a much lower. If you look at the number of people in Sorcery right now, the number that actually are playing weekly events and grinding games and like really interested in playing and getting good, it's a small percentage of the whole audience. A lot of people are just collecting the cards. A lot of people doing full foil sets. A lot of people just buying and selling, just trying to wheel and deal, making their thing. You know, people like things for all sorts of different reasons. So you're removing a big chunk of potential community there. But if you have a game right now, like you have questions to answer, and don't just throw it into the same system that is going to fail. That's the number one thing that I would give you right now. Gudnak did not do that, right? So on the one hand, they partner with us. That allows them to do certain things like removing people from the chain. One of the things we are trying to remove is middlemen from this process. So like they can do that. So that gives them a better shot. They also introduced the alternate art packs, the booster packs. So they're trying a new model, different idea. They're crowdfunding, right? So they've crowdfunded their first and second set. That is another option that you have. You can just continue to do that like Keyforge did for a long time. Maybe still is. Mm-hmm. There are options there where you just need to get real about it. What I want you to not think is that your game is going to go out to distribution, go to local retail stores, and local communities are going to play it, and that's going to be your success metric. It is not going to happen. It will never happen. It won't happen in Hubworld, even though it's probably one of the greatest card games of all time. It won't happen for Gudnak. It won't. You can't just speak the same language and expect the same results. It's a totally different breed of game. Now, here's an interesting idea. Digital. I hate it.
I was gonna say done,
but you have to look at what are the unique advantages of the living card game fixed model. One such advantage is that digital implementation of trading card games is a very messy and almost myth-busting thing to introduce. Do people get access to all the cards? If they get access to all the cards, what's the point of a booster pack? If they don't need to have a collection of physical cards, why would they buy them? We saw this with Warhammer Champions. What if my digital implementation is just as good as playing physically for most of these people? Should I have them have to scan every card like Altered? Should I put the QR codes right there on the front so that we have a digital and physical collection? That's all very difficult for trading card games with rarity and collectability to handle. It is extremely easy for players buying fixed content products to handle. It's much easier there because what I can do with a box of Hubworld, potentially, I can have inside of that box a simple little sheet that says scan this and you will have this collection added to your account. And I scan it, I click the button, and all of a sudden I have all of the cards that I just bought added to my account. No collectability, no tradability, no fancy business needed. I buy the $100 box, I get all the physical cards, and I get an immediate digital implementation. It makes no difference to Hubworld because this is the same sale either way. I don't have to worry about, well, what happens if people don't chase the $500 ring because they can just play with it online all the time. And now do I need to have online tournaments? And do I need to have cash prizes for online tournaments? And what's MTG Arena? Do they need to buy cards at all? Do I need to have digital booster packs? You get rid of all of that and you just say, once you've bought the cards, you can use them digitally and physically. Mm-hmm. And that also solves my organized play problem to an extent. People can stay engaged with the game. Yeah. They can continue to play. They don't need the local store environment, et cetera, et cetera. So that is another avenue to look at, is like, really somebody is going to solve this in a big way. And like, I think the thing is, Hubworld and Gudnak, these are games that are good enough to work regardless of the financial marketing realities that are against, basically blowing wind in the opposite direction of their sales. They're so good that it doesn't matter what it takes and whether it's logical to buy them, play them, etc. Whatever it takes to play them, I will do/pay. Netrunner was that kind of game too.
I was going to say Netrunner.
It was good enough that you would just do it.
The product being good enough fixes a lot of things.
It fixes a lot of problems. Yeah, now, would those have been more successful TCGs, etc.? Yes.
That's the main point. And right now, TCGs are in vogue. And so, like, you can make a TCG, and if it is a great game, and I think about Sorcery in this way, not only do they make a great game that's a collectible game, But if you're going to enter the TCG space, the thing we didn't really get to this when we were talking about the altered cyberpunk thing.
Mirage, yeah.
Not only is the game great, but they had such a clear value proposition in the TCG space. That's why I think they're successful in general, which is like, it's so clear. This is a different kind of TCG with a different upside for a very specific group of people. And there are enough people in that group to make it a successful TCG. You can't just put out a TCG. I mean, you can. It's just going to be really hard to be successful. That is just...
Unless it's the pandemic.
That is just TCG. This is just another TCG. There's nothing different about it. It's kind of just... Or maybe it's 5% better as a game. That's not good enough.
Much more competitive space.
And it's super competitive. The other thing I would just say is a combination of factors. If you were looking at making a game and making it non-collectible, Netrunner is a good example of this as well. But basically, being really, really laser focused on being effective and sustainable. So if you're going to take the LCG approach, if you get a reality check on all these other things we've already been talking about, but you also kits is not super sustainable under most LCG math and the kind of demand you're going to get.
Right.
And so really being cost conscious and figuring that out, or doing the model in some, like, I think it's not an LCG, but Alpha Clash with the comic books as a model, that is a super efficient way to make art.
Right.
And so you have a cost advantage. And
you
so
you pay to make the art, but then you also sell the art in the form of a comic book. So you get more on the backside.
And like the top-down design that spins from the comics is also super efficient, because instead of design a card, describe clarity, send that to an artist, now the art has to match up with the card that you're trying to design, or the Vader, or whoever it is, where it's like, maybe you design a Vader that's good at killing rebel troopers, and they send back Vader looking out a window. It's like, well, this is not it.
Right.
And then you have to describe it to the artist, you have to do the whole thing, versus write a story, make a comic book, look at the pictures in the comic and say, what would this card for this art do? It's just a way more efficient way to do it. So if you have something going on like that, and you're making an LCG, you could find a way to do it in a way more like cost effective. You have to have a lower cost model if you're going to have a lower price product.
Right.
The other thing I would just mention is, you kind of related to the online play, but if you're going to be a smaller game with a smaller community, I think having a couple tentpole events every year is huge.
Yeah.
Like if you're Gudnak and you have one set release a year, having this is the event that Gudnak players come to once a year is the kind of thing where, like, I think a lot of people have room in their life for a game that they travel to play once a year.
Yeah.
And like, they don't feel they have to keep up with it all the time, and they can. You can play it at the kitchen table, you can play it locally every week or whatever. But the smaller the community, the more important, I think, a few really big don't miss this event, versus, as an example, a small community with a flesh and blood event schedule would not work, because there's not enough people. If you have 3,000 players, there's not enough people to have a major event every month and have all of them coming to it.
Traveling, yeah.
Unless it's literally the 3,000 people that are willing, that are in a position in life where they can travel anywhere in the world.
Just marketing to retirees.
Which that could be your model, right? But like, I think the reality of, if you're only going to have a couple thousand people playing your game, having an event that 200 to 300 of those people come to every year, and it's like, this is the big gathering. And even like the idea that I might go to that event makes it where I'm willing to keep buying the thing. And then if you're only selling 2,000 units, is that enough based on the price and based on how much it costs you to make it and all the art and stuff to keep doing this?
And if I'm an LCG publisher, I might be saying, could I make 10 to 20 grand on this event every year?
For sure.
Could that be a way that I'm starting to claw back some of that margin that I'm losing with the fixed card game model?
Funnily enough, I was, when I was describing that, I was picturing, there's a little game called Super Show, a wrestling game.
Love it.
And they posted pictures a while back, and it was like grandma's literally packing the orders. And it's like, well, you're selling directly.
Cutting costs.
So you're cutting out middlemen and raising how much you're getting. And you have grandma packing orders. So your cost of shipping is like lower. And you're doing all the art yourself, and you're doing all the design yourself. And you're really committed, like, I don't know. I have no idea how many people they have playing it. And you see them at Gen Con and doing the conventions and stuff. But like, there's ways to have a model that actually does it. But what it is not is a really inexpensive way for players to get the Magic experience.
Yeah, it won't
every
happen.
day, every week.
Not happening.
And if that's your expectation as a player or as a publisher, like, that ain't it.
It's not going to happen. So new language is needed, and it's being carved out. Any questions? Hey, I want to take questions from the audience. I saw, I think it was Stills Lime saying, Steven seems to be putting Hubworld in a special category. I wonder why. I don't.
Special
So-
category?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of what we're getting at is we don't really have an LCG model. We have the Fantasy Flight monthly pack model. That doesn't work. Strictly doesn't work. And doing 6 packs in 6 weeks makes it worse.
Well, and I think
It doesn't work logistically. It doesn't work at that price
you
point.
could argue in 2015 for Netrunner it did work, but
It would have worked better otherwise, though.
no doubt. But what I would also say is that to me, FFG in 2015 is a unicorn
Mm-hmm.
because they had like such a different environment
Yeah.
in terms of designers and staff and resources and other products you have in the pipeline and going on, and like I don't think most companies have the capacity to operate in a way like they had the cost advantage. Like
Mm-hmm.
they had a model and a brand and an awareness
And IPs.
and they also had like ownership of Gen Con publicity. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
Mhm.
Like you could write a book about FFG owning the 2010s at Gen Con.
Yeah.
That is grade A marketing.
I also think they snuck in and the retail environment was just speaking the same language with the LCGs for a while.
Yeah.
They were just doing their week.
Well-
They put it on the weekly calendar. They brought they put them on the SKUs. They put them on the pegboard, and they said, "Yeah, this is a new card game." And then a year later, it's like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah. Well, and notably, it was at a time when there weren't a lot of new TCGs coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, what a retailer can do is have your big games, Big Three, Fab, Lorcana, etc., and then say, "Here's 18 other TCGs. Choose 3." It's like this is our different. If you're not into these
Sorcery
games,
is a great
we have
example.
this.
Of that.
Yeah,
One set a
Sorcery,
year.
perfect
Fantasy
example. Just
RE.
like crushing the LCGs. Like
Mhm.
that is devastating actually for the
Yeah.
liability of
Because it's a
LCGs.
similar audience.
Yeah, it
a
is
very
a
similar
way more
audience.
approachable TCG,
Mhm.
but it's still a TCG.
They're still making a lot
Yeah.
more money.
So in 2012, though, there are no other alternatives. And so it's like if you're a retailer that wants your product mix to expand at all, this is a really compelling thing.
Yeah.
It's like, because maybe I actually have people, like the people buying Netrunner in 2014 aren't going to play Magic.
Yep.
And so
That's right.
you're not like.
They probably used to.
But they're not anymore.
They're not anymore. They got
So
families.
that is really appealing. But now it's like, well, just bring in Cyberpunk.
Right.
Or bring in
Right.
Neuroscape, or bring in Chronocore,
Mhm.
or bring in, and like you
Mhm.
just go down the list of like all these games. So it's a
Yeah.
different environment right now. Now, 5 years from now, TCGs cool off.
Mm-hmm.
Might be an opportunity for more LCGs to sneak in. But even then, you'd have to have a company like FFG that already had enough momentum going that they're capable of doing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
As compared to if you're just starting up from zero and this is your only product, that's another part of the problem.
Yeah.
Anyways, carry on.
So here's what we're seeing. We're seeing a couple of different experimentation factors with the model. Gudnak is experimenting. Well, first of all, one of the big things is what if we crowdfunded every set of an LCG that we release?
Mm.
What if we release less sets, crowdfund every set, and go from there? That's an approach.
And that's the same thing as also just selling direct, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're cutting out middlemen. We're getting more money on every box that we sell. What if we also had booster packs that didn't have playable necessities in them, but had only alternate art and cosmetic treatments? Is there enough of a appetite in the LCG audience to actually make that kind of product viable? I think it's sold pretty well for them. That's my read on it.
Yeah.
Draftable too.
Draftable,
Oh, yeah.
in
Oh, and
some
they're
limited environments.
Dude, I've only opened one box because I'm saving the rest for actually.
They're incredible. I mean,
Super cool.
The
Yeah.
cards are incredible, right?
Yeah, and the art. Yeah.
So so we'll keep an eye on that. Is it possible to create a distributable unit of sale that always has value on top of a fixed card pool that people can just buy into
It is a
without
grand
touching the alt art piece?
We're in, as Jonathan said, an experimentation phase. They're in an experimentation phase.
Then we have Hubworld, which is doing basically twice a year releases rather than basically every month releases. And they're not only doing that, but they're packaging it as a draft cube for up to 4 players that is infinitely playable for the rest of existence.
Yeah, I also think the framing of Hubworld, I think it is trying to be like Netrunner in a sense that it is too good not to succeed.
I mean, yeah.
Which is like, not that every product's not trying to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, it's so good that in spite of the model being worse, players are going to demand to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're all going to kind of go along for that ride.
Well, and here's the other, call it an experiment if you will, but here's the other thing that Earthborn is doing that is unique is that they started with a cooperative card game that is effectively a board game. And so the Earthborn audience right now is a massive board game audience that loves the Earthborn universe. They love the design philosophy and the sustainability philosophy of Earthborn. And their next move is putting out a 1v1 LCG twice a year. And so they have the natural advantage that their existing audience is a board game audience, not a TCG audience. And so they're going to get a lot of crossover where a lot of these board game Earthborn fans are going to buy into Hubworld, not because they want the TCG lifestyle, but because they want to play a 1v1 game that Earthborn Games has designed. So they're going to bring in a lot of that audience. And that is another approach. Is like they're basically targeting, whether they know it or not, they're targeting a board game slice of audience rather than going out to all the Magic players and saying, play Hubworld instead.
Yeah. And they're also not fully reliant on Hubworld to have their entire company exist. Like that's the FFG comparison to me, which is like when you have enough things going, and there's just fundamental things about a business that you have to do, whether it's accounting and finance or hiring and recruiting, or hiring and managing artists or signing contract, like that. If you already have the engines in place to do these things, that's also helpful.
Yeah, and they have the team, so they can actually probably produce Hubworld less expensively. Like they can be more efficient because they have the distribution of resources that they already needed to have for Earthborn Rangers and probably future projects, and they can put that's the economies of scale thing. And so their cost to produce Hubworld is going to be less than a brand new publisher starting up and trying to get that done, paying all their artists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have the framework for all of that to work. So we'll see of those two, evolutions of the model, how it goes.
We also haven't seen, Hubworld's not out yet. We haven't seen how Hubworld is going to interact past just the product. So is there organized play? What does it look like? How are you supporting local stores? Are you even trying to get to local stores? Do you have big events? Do you have a tournament series? Do you have regionals? Do you have worlds? Do you have all that kind of stuff? Yeah. That's still a big question mark.
And I hope they drop the idea that there's weekly play for this anywhere. I mean, at the end of the day, people will get together to play your game.
Yeah.
But do you need to incentivize that directly through retail sales, et cetera, is a different question. But I also think what Hubworld is doing differently is they're giving you a box of cards, again, to an existing board game audience, and it is playable by 4 players. So your board game group of 4 players naturally can do this other thing that is slightly different, and it hits a different part of your brain, and you kind of like 2 of the players used to play Magic and 2 of them didn't, and they really want to do the Hubworld thing. You sit down, you have a draft of this cube that you just bought for $100. That also gives them an advantage in that they're able to effectively target that other audience. Not just say, hey, board gamers, why don't you buy the 20 chapter packs and start playing Game of Thrones, but like it's the model that right? It's speaking the board game language.
Yeah.
Singular box. Buy it, bring it to the group, open it up, draft it, play it.
On the shelf, it looks a lot like a board game.
Oh, and it looks so good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's actually.
Did we have questions?
Do we have any questions or comments you want to show, John, before we get
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, this is a conversation that we will continue having for the rest of time.
That's the thing I can't get away from. Is just like I'm looking at World of Warcraft, and it's just like this is just what people want to do. This is just what they're willing to. The perceived value of this experience is so much higher than Street Fighter.
Yeah, for one reason or another, you're willing to pay hundreds of dollars for booster boxes. More people are willing to pay hundreds of dollars for booster boxes than they are for a $50 fixed core set.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the reality is, Zach, I just sold a bunch of sorcery cards.
Yeah.
For a lot of money. That's something you can't even do that. I'll never do that for Hubworld.
Yeah.
It's
how fluid the cards and money are.
Yeah.
All right, bald carrots. For me, it's not buying random booster boxes packs versus set packs in LCG. For me, it's the secondary singles market versus LCG packs. LCGs typically lack a secondary market. Yeah, exactly.
And people just like the secondary market. That's just like,
I mean, trading, collecting
human stuff. Yeah. It's just human stuff.
Bird brain stuff.
Now, I will say this: if I was Hubworld making Hubworld, I would take 5 cards in that Hubworld box and I would put them in alt art treatments, and I would have every box be slightly different. I mean, it's done. But it's such a small tweak, Zach.
It's so anti-environmental friendly, though.
I know, but the perception.
Now, the people that I know, and I'm not speaking for myself, would then just be buying like 8 copies just to get the stuff and like doing this whole like mad thing, and then 6 copies you didn't need to open, and
But they compost.
I know.
So compost them.
All right, you got any more, John?
Pay $800 to Andrew and have a big compost pile.
Yeah.
But there, you got to let the one person that wants to have the alt art version of the entire box.
Okay, here's a new thing.
Yeah.
What if those 5 cards were just each $100 a piece available online? You didn't have to go through the song and dance.
Nobody would care.
Isn't it funny?
Nobody would buy them.
Because it's the same thing, except for I just don't have to like waste the time and energy.
Nobody would buy them.
I don't know. Secret layers, maybe say otherwise.
Yeah, maybe they would buy them.
Any other question mark comments, John?
That's crazy. But the perceived value is so different. It's so weird what we do.
King Okaze. Question for Steven and Co. Would LCG be better if they had one core set and then various modes such as PvE or single play?
I don't, I think I love the simplicity of what Hubworld's doing. Same box, same style of release. You have one product type. You release it 2 a year. They're all draft cubes. You can play them all together in constructed. There's only 4 out at any given time in the constructed environment. I think that is much better than having like this core set and these expansions, and then we get the skew bloat, and then what do I need to buy if I'm a new player? Like, you know what the powerful thing is going to be here? When someone says, hey, it's 5 years from now, they're like, dude, I want to get in on this. I want to play Hubworld because like the game is awesome and the story is awesome and the lore looks great and the theme is good. What do I need to do? And we say, if you want all the cards to play in the current constructor volume, you pay $400. Yeah, that's it. And it's always that answer. That's the answer forever. Until the end of time, you buy the most 4 recent releases and you can play everything that we're currently playing.
$400, you have a full play set. You have 4 draft cubes. You have every card that is legal to play in the game.
Do you know how different that is than saying, okay, so you're going to need to buy the core set, and then if you want to play this faction, you buy this expansion, and then if you want to play these 2 factions, you buy these 2 expansions because they release cards for this faction and that other expansion.
If you specifically want to play the Dothraki deck, you're going to need to buy these 8 chapter packs and this deluxe and this thing, and you're going to need to get this one plot from this one thing.
Yeah, and that is going to continue to grow, and so now it's like, I'm paying $800 to get into Thrones now. I'm paying $1,000 to get into Thrones now.
That was what we eventually realized in the LCG world. Literally at some point, Thrones, someone started playing and was like, can I just buy everything? And then you start totaling it up, and it's like, oh, you're gonna spend $800.
Yeah.
Then you go to Pokemon. It's like, how much does it cost to buy the singles to buy a competitive deck? It's like $100 to $200.
Yeah.
Still true to this day.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's actually not even cheaper to play Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's weird.
And here's what's so crazy about this. What's so strange about this? You think about this. We're saying these fixed card game models that already are making less money, therefore have less resources to design, develop, etc., are the ones most incentivized to include as much value in their release as possible to get people to buy it. So now we've got to design a solo mode, we've got to design a PvE mode, we've got to design a digital client, all to get people to buy the lowest margin box that I could do with these cards. It's actually crazy, because if you did that same amount of development and just packaged it in a booster box and you were saying, I'm a TCG that out of the box supports draft play, sealed play, PvE mode, solo mode, and 1v1 head-to-head, you would have a competitive advantage and you would be a TCG that a lot of people would buy. So like, it's still, no matter how much value you're stuffing into the LCG box, it would still be more valuable as a TCG.
Yeah.
You would just be a better TCG.
I think it's always true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know from Andrew. I want to know why. What is his argument? Because he has strong thoughts on this.
Well, we might be able to arrange that conversation.
Because you could do paper packs. You could still do.
We've seen it.
You could do probably I don't know if you could do compostable cards. A lot that kind of flies in the face of collectability, which is the idea of permanence and self-expression.
Yeah, there's some hard edges there.
Yeah.
Anything else, John?
I think that touched on most of them.
All right.
Well, here's the Ochoa 3. You want to do this one? This is the last one.
All right, finale.
Do you think most prospecting TCGs should be looking at 1, 2, or 4 sets a year? To me, as someone who works at a shop, MTG is primarily for players, and another TCG is secondary. 500 plus for a collector's box.
I think for most TCGs, 2 to 3 sets, even just practically how many resources you have to be producing sets and print runs and all that kind of stuff. I feel like 4 sets is it's just so many.
It's too many
in general. So like, if you're not going to be one of the big 3 games, I think a slower pace is better because the people that aren't playing Magic already, it's not like a slower pace is gonna be. It's at minimum neutral for them, if not good. And then for people that are playing games that are like, you need to buy it every 2 to 4 months, it gives you a shot to be their secondary game.
Mm-hmm.
So that just makes a lot of sense to me.
If you need 4 sets a year for your game and meta to stay interesting, you're just badly designing the game. That's just it.
Well, and I think, Magic started with 1 set
Mm-hmm.
in 1 year. And you do 4 sets a year or 3 sets a year when you've released, been successful, and you've scaled to the point where you have enough players where that's like a reasonable decision for you to make. But Magic didn't start at a set every 6 weeks.
Right. It's not the model. That's not the sacred, text.
Yeah, and they grew into that, and then
they might grow out of it.
Yeah, for sure. But you have to get to the point too where like one of the concessions of a every 6-week model is that everyone is not going to buy everything. Whereas Sorcery, once a year, every player, I presume, is going to buy every set.
Yeah.
And you get that advantage.
And you need to design with that in mind.
Well, yes, you have to design with that in mind. Like if Fab only had 1 set a year, it'd be a disaster.
Yeah.
You can't possibly have a set that only starts 3 factions once a year. It's going to... Anyways.
All right. Develop a new language. New expectations, new language. Who's going to crack it? Maybe Gudnak already has. Maybe Hubworld from the Earthborn team will. No matter what happens, I continue to have a distinct interest in fixed card game models because I like it more. I think it is more fair. I think it's more affordable, more reasonable. I feel like I'm not getting taken advantage of, these kinds of things. But at the same time, I do have to recognize that the fundamental material reality of what people like to do with their time and money is pointing all signs to TCGs and MMOs and casinos and all of these kinds of things. The degree to which you feel comfortable playing into that metagame is a different kind of question, but it is the world that we live in.
I very much want to see it work,
and I really I kind of like getting back into the TCGs now because it's like it is kind of fun to open the.
Well, I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
like they can both be successful. I really want it to work. We've continuously done our best to support games exploring those other models, but I do think inherently the sooner you can recognize that it needs to be a different model than the TCG model and what that looks like and what the support looks like and what the whole thing looks like. If you recognize that and play to that, I think there's an opportunity for lots of people to actually enter that space and be successful.
Yep.
But also recognizing it's not going to be successful on a TCG level, financially at least.
Yep. You're right. Thanks everybody so much for listening. Hey, we'll see you next week, and we got some Hubworld gameplay coming up, so keep an eye on that.
If head to the Discord.
If
you have thoughts, or leave it in YouTube if you're listening to this, YouTube or Discord. I'll just say Discord.
Discord. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.